Hello and welcome
Perfect.
to yet another Legends of Runeterra podcast. And we are going to tackle the other half of the revealed cards here of the new expansion for Legends of Runeterra. Quite a few interesting ones. And we have another special guest. First of all, it's Vic here, my co-host again.
Hello, everyone.
And then we have one of my, I don't know, people I tend to face a lot in tournaments, and we just battle each other over and over again, and it's really quite fun. And also a streamer and follow my friend as well, Trickytreacy. Welcome to the channel. And
Thank you very much, Conansson, and thanks also to Wick for having both of you for having me on here. Yeah, maybe the word rival is a bit too strong a word to use there, but
yes.
yeah, we play against each other a lot, and I know there probably is some bit of a rivalry there, depending on how important certain results were at different times. But yeah, all in the good competitive sport.
Exactly, like rival is so negative, and didn't want to use. Just having fun matching each other, like in different tournaments, like fun tournaments in the draft league and stuff like that. Better ones, I think.
And yeah, it's great to have you. Thank you for joining us. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on.
What are you doing? What are you streaming? And introduce yourself a little bit.
Perfect. Yeah, so I have been streaming lore and like exclusively lore ever since I started streaming back maybe 2 years ago. All at a very small scale, but I just play lore because it is the game that I enjoy playing the most. I think I'd like to think that's probably the same for all of us here and anyone listening, that it is, despite the ups and downs that the game has had in the last while, and well, throughout the entire time it's been around, it is still just a fantastic game. There's so much to do. The competitive scene, the sort of the casual scene, the variety of deck building that's available, it's fantastic, and that's where I direct all my energy. So I do stream it. I do try to be a relatively competitive player, but all that is an excuse just to play this game more.
Nice. And yeah, your streams are great. Definitely recommend everybody to check them out. We will leave a link in the description. And yeah, have you here. So let's get into the cards. And we have already covered the first two champions, some of these random cards here in the first podcast with Death. And you can check that out on my channel as well. You've seen it already if you're here. And now we will start from Norra. We'll cover these two cards another time, like these three, because they're like a package of Norra now and not just random cards. Move on to Jax and then to the Ornn, and then to the very new cards. I didn't even look at them yet. I will live read them, live read them. So, yeah. So looking forward to what you have to say. And let's get started with Norra. Norra is the new Battle City Yordle champion. It's basically the Battle Commando 2-mana 1/2 elusive Yordle. And then next to strike, you don't get a 1/2/1 in hand. Instead, you plant a mysterious portal. These mysterious portals, they are placed randomly on top of 4 cards of your deck, like boons, like puff caps, like stuff like that. And then once you draw these cards, you get a random unit or a random follower that costs 2 or 3. And there are like some cards that are excluded, for example, ones which are having play effects. For example, this guy you can't get because he's a play effect. And once you've summoned 6+ created allies, then she flips to a 2/3. Now your mysterious portals can summon 4, 5, 6, or 7 cost followers instead. Still has the same Nexus Strike. There's no like improvement like this for Caitlyn, for example. And these portals are really interesting, dynamic and interesting. Also, design decision to limit those random pools, quote unquote, randomly. Just leave others like Tri-Beam untouched. It limits some high rolls, some low rolls. Like you can't get Box-to-Puss, you can't get Ancient Crocolith, and also can't get some 1/1s and stuff like that. For our ratings, you can see them over here. I gave them a 10, Ricky gave them a 6, and her a 6, and Vic a 7. So I think Norra will be really, really broken. And I guess I have to elaborate on that because it's literally we're doing this for a few patches now, and I only gave one card a 10 ever. Not even Kaiser was a 10. I don't remember which one was it. I think Hate Spike or something. Now this card was broken, but I really think Norra will be insane with these 6 created allies. You will just flip her on turn 3 or 4 usually, probably 4 most likely. You will just sometimes high roll and get a 7-cost follower on turn 5 or turn 4. Some decks will just not have a Mystic Shot to kill her. Will be pretty broken. Okay, Tricky, what do you think
Right.
about her?
So I think one of the biggest difficulties with fairly evaluating Norra is the outcomes that are possible. Firstly, from I suppose from the 2 and 3 cost pool, and then later on from her payoff, which is getting anything from the 4 to 7 cost pool. Because while you can look at the numbers and see what what the stat lines are, until you actually play it, it can be quite difficult to know just how good those are. They're surely a great 5-drop you'd love to see coming from Norra, and it just doesn't come to mind straight away. The reason I would have rated her quite a bit lower than you would have, and I'm rating her a 6, is firstly, as I said there, because of the variability of what can be pulled. I don't know offhand what those, I can't think really what the cards that could be pulled consistently or on average are. But I also feel as though that in a Norra-oriented deck, while she can flip quite easily, if you remove her, or all copies of her, or the 2 copies are likely played in an Norra game, suddenly an awful lot of what the opponent is going to be investing, putting these boons into the top of their deck, the mysterious portals, just aren't going to be as threatening. And I feel as though, because she can be relatively easily dealt with in a deck that's going to focus on her, she isn't that good.
Vic, I think.
Yeah, I look at Norra, and of course the first thing that I see is that she's a 2-mana 1/2 elusive. And I think fundamentally we've seen that elusives that have more than 1 HP can get a little bit out of hand. And I think right now we do have a lot of challengers in the meta that would kind of hold that down. But the fact that she flips in deck and isn't dependent on seeing the cards being played, I think that most of the time she might be coming down as a 2/3 fairly early. I think that the mysterious portals are pretty cool. I think the biggest part about them is the fact that if your board is full, you get a fleeting 0-cost copy of that,
That's a
and it kind
huge
of
quality of life feature.
enables. Yeah, it's massive. And so I think this entire concept is going to be very swarm heavy, which we've seen be very dominant from Bandle City. And although I don't think that Norra will be as destructive or meta warping as, many people based on their first reactions, they were like really, I don't know. Maybe she will be a 10, but I think right now she's just a very, very solid card, and the archetype will be solid. I think that despite the limited card pool, there's still going to be there's going to be a large amount of high rolls and low rolls. So it's going to be a very swingy card, I believe.
Interesting. Tricky, what do you think about the more random effects? Like, I voiced on Twitter that I don't really like random game-breaking effects that you either get a 7-cost in the next turn or like 4 turns later. Are you a fan of random effects, or?
So I suppose there's 2 aspects to the random effects. Firstly, we have to consider the fact there are certain cards that are excluded from the random effects, and you touched off this earlier on, that a card like Norra doesn't apply by the same rules that Tribeam does, and that a random card coming out, such as Solitary Monk, is no longer a concern, which is obviously a huge boon, for want of a word, to Norra. And Solitary Monk, for any, as you can see here, is a 3. Yeah, perfect. It's 3 cost that recalls your whole board, which is not what you want to happen, of course. The 7-cost pool, for example, it can be very, very strong. We saw in the reveal trailer Windfairy Hatchling coming out. We could also see the likes of a Hydrovine just suddenly find its way onto your board, but there's also some cards that just aren't all that good. And you'd hate to feel as though you spend your luck in pulling a poor 7-mana card.
Yeah.
So I could be convinced maybe that I could move slightly more towards a Wick score of a 7, but definitely nothing past that for Norra from me.
You want me to change your score? I totally can.
No, I don't think I'm that convinced. I definitely could move in that direction, but I'm firmly, it's a 6.
At a 6? Okay.
Yeah. Fine. I think she's just a very polarizing champion like Fiora. Basically, if you don't kill her, then you auto win with her. If you have a matchup that can't kill her, so you play Lurk, for example, she will just drown you in value. And against a deck that just plays Mystic Shots, you don't have to get too much value out of Norra. You should play Battle City, you can just play a random like battle tree or whatever landmark you have or whatever value engine you have, and then just outvalue the opponent this way. You don't have to rely on Laura as a win con, but if you can rely on her because the opponent is slow in interaction, just like going to be insane. I'm going to play her a lot.
I
Okay,
think she's gonna be funny.
funny for sure. And I didn't want like many people. I got some criticism for my random post. I think she's ultimately going to be fun, but playing her against her in a competitive environment will be annoying. Like play, I don't know, seasonals and it's top cut and just run into Norra and
Of course, yeah, it's
Heroes.
a high stakes period of time as well. I mean, this is the last seasonal before Worlds, I believe, that we're
Yeah.
going to be looking at, and it would be very disappointing for a lot of people who are taking things quite seriously, competitively, that or another RNG focused champ could be at the
Yeah.
forefront of the meta.
I think that, the last two seasonal finals, a lot of people have tried to undercut them by claiming that the RNG that occurred, because I believe last time it was like a Reggie, or which is the Pharaoh's financier, into a sputtering song spinner, which was enabled the player, and so because that line occurred, people have sort of been saying that these last finals were ruined by RNG.
Mhm.
And so I'm worried that the competitive perception of these portals will just sort of give people more
Fodder, for
flame.
want of a word, or
Yeah,
ammunition.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We will have to
I
see.
think that's a fair comment for sure, but it's easy to forget as well that Worlds was not quite decided, but definitely heavily influenced by a flash bomb trap. The
You know what?
final. So
Absolutely. I will
yeah,
never forget that flash bomb.
Yeah.
so it's easy to say, look, think what has happened recently, and yeah, that song spinner play in the EU season finals was certainly a high roll, but there are definitely other combinations of those 3 or 6 two-cost cards that are in the pool that could have done a similar effect. So yeah, it's not the worst.
And I think you have to like get like a compromise in the players who play for fun and the players who play competitively. You can't just have all the competitive cards and no fun cards. Like for example, I personally hate playing against timelines. I lost one game. My opponent just got a box to pose on turn 2, and just I lost because I played Misfortune, and they just changed my Misfortune, and I couldn't even play my Misfortune, and it just feels kind of bad. It happens, and it's like funny sometimes, and I think you just have to take these losses. Sometimes you just don't draw your cards well. It's also a part of like RNG.
I mean, there's inherent RNG in the game we play, so it's about limiting that to a reasonable scope.
And I think it's still reasonable in lore. Just if you really want no RNG, you have to play chess. Can't play
Exactly.
anything else. Okay, let's move on to
If you want
these.
no RNG, you go for a walk or pick up running because chess still has a coin flip at the start of the game, right?
Yeah, it's like minor. Better player still wins. Okay, let's move on to the next cards. We talked about them a little bit already last time. We should revisit them in the Norra perspective. That is like a whole archetype around these mysterious portals. First one is Chunk Construct, 2 mana, 2/2 fair. Last Breath, plant a mysterious portal randomly in the top 4 cards of your deck. I rated it a 6, Tricky a 5, and Wick an 8. Maybe something worth mentioning, it's a fair. I didn't even notice that. You can generate it, and it also gets discounted by the Gleaming Lantern. Wick, what do you think? Why do you think it's high?
Well, I really like Last Breath units. I think that they create many opportunities for aggressive and defensive counterplay where you try to avoid triggering them. I think a 2-mana 2/2 is just a very decent body. We have a lot of solid 2-mana 2/2s in the game at the moment, and they constantly prove to be a stat line that everyone should consider and think about. And I think that this is a card that sort of replenishes itself. So I just think it's valuable. Maybe I think when I flicked over and I saw that I gave it an 8, I was like, whoa, that's a little high. So I might actually want to pull this down to like a 7. But think it's a okay card, and I think within the Norra decks and just like Bandle Swarm in general, I think it's going to be a card that you wouldn't mind seeing.
Yeah, I kind of like gave it a little bit lower grade, I think. I'm not sure. Because I don't think you will actually play this in Norra decks that much because it's super slow. Like you have to play this unit out and it doesn't progress your Norra level up and you have to kill it or wait until it dies naturally. Maybe in like a Norra Shadow Isles deck, that's a thing with like the Haunted Relic, but I actually think this, I think they swapped the ratings for Team Maker and Chunk Construct because I think it actually be the worst card in Norra decks. Get the bottle later. Ricky, you're not high on it. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, I wasn't particularly convinced on Junk Construct. I feel as though it's like it should really only see play in the more dedicated types of Norra decks, and in that it's a case of, oh look, I found my 2-drop in my mulligan. Yeah, I'll keep it because it's my 2-drop, and it's a fine card. It's a 2/2/2. It's a solid stat line. We see, let's say to make a very tenuous comparison to Conchologist, which used to be a 2/2/2 and gives you a card. This also gives you a card. Just it doesn't give you a card you choose, and it gives you that card at a possibly quite inopportune time. So yeah, I think it's fine in Nordex, and I think fine is deserving of halfway through the scale.
Yeah.
5 out of 10.
I think it's just awkward with like Norra coming down on 2 as well, so you don't really need another 2-drop. And I'd rather play like
course,
Haunted
yeah.
Turtle or Haunted Relic and stuff. Anyways, let's move on. The Tea Maker. Next one. And I actually raised my score. This one is the 3-mana 3/1 Fae. And it says, when I'm summoned, plan the Mysterious Portal. I gave this one, I think, a 5 or 6 last time, and I raised it to a 7 because I think this will just be a nice curve of Norra into the Tea Maker, and then you just have the portals already if you attack on odds, on evens even. You have a very high chance of just drawing one and value out of it. And yeah, Tricky, you're the 5, probably the same reasoning as before, right? Value
Yep.
unit.
Again, same reasons. It's fine in Nordex. It'll do it. It is definitely helped by the fact that it doesn't share its curve with Norra. But the reason, and there's an argument there. Well, why not put it to 6 at least? It's because, at 3 mana it could do a little bit more. I mean, I'm not sure why I changed it to make it do more, but I play an awful lot of Heim Jace, and I see my opponent playing this. I'm like, cool, that is a nice use of my Vile Feast because I want to deal with this card for on average the effect for another 2 turns or so. So that's fine. That's a nice target for me, and I'm not feeling particularly threatened by the Tea Maker coming down.
Okay. Vic, you want to add anything or just?
Yeah, the 1 health was really bad about this card. I
I
think
like
it's fine. The summoning is good, so it's like more instantaneous in the last breath.
I like the 3 attack, just blocking fearsomes. Valuable.
Wow. Yeah, yeah.
True, but you expect your 3-drops to be able to block a fearsome, right?
It depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
But usually.
Yeah.
Okay, Origami Slicer. We still all agree that it's okay. No, Tricky, you say it's not garbage. Maybe read it first. It's a weapon or equipment with 0/0 at start, and give me +1/+0 for each of your traps or wounds that was activated this round. I don't know if you got confirmation yet if this like keeps its stats while it's equipped or if it like keeps changing each time. And yeah, I gave it a 2, Vic a 1, and Tricky you gave it a 5. So you think is going to see a play?
I think this will see some fringe play. I don't envision this being a core card at all of the Norra type of archetype, mainly because apart from Norra, there's no elusive now. Putting this onto Norra actually is pretty fine. Like if your game plan is going along nicely, you actually expect to be putting a few boons. But when I saw this, I immediately did think of the Caitlyn Teemo archetype, which is not particularly good at the moment. But hey, any bit of support could actually push it, past 50%. And while that archetype isn't particularly threatening, stick this on Teemo suddenly that's a problem. So I don't see it as anything particularly meta breaking, but I feel as though it's a nice tool to augment another archetype, and I wouldn't write it off entirely.
Yeah, my problem with Teemo decks is that you have to play Battle City then. You can't play First Bites, you can't play you're really locked into like PNC and Vandal. And
Of course.
That's kind of awkward. And also, like, can't really, if you put this on Teemo turn 2, for example, in your deck, you won't have any traps activated, so you have to already have your Teemo going. Go for the archetype as well. But yeah, maybe good point. Maybe it will see a home there. Okay, Magical Journey is the third card. I gave a different rating in this one because I think it's really, really, really good. Because it will be
Oh
really
my.
good. Yes, it's a 2-mana burst spell. In Bundle, plant a mysterious portal randomly in the top 4 charts of your deck and plant 3 chimes and random cards in your deck. I gave it a 7. I gave it a 2 last time, and I raised it because, like, I still think Norra is really good. And yeah, you will just play these random portal cards because they will help you high roll and help you get these crazy turns. Tricky probably is the same point as me as a 2 because it just doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah, I just feel as though. Oh, sorry, what's your Wick? My bad. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know if he said Tricky or Wick.
I wasn't certain either, actually.
Sorry, yeah, my bad.
Tricky, go ahead. You gave this a 2. You think this is pretty? I mean, I agree this is bad, but you said this
I think it's
bad.
quite poor. Yeah, like, so it's plant a mysterious portal randomly, top 4 cards of your deck, and then plant these 3 chimes. So planting 3 chimes in your deck, that's fine as an effect. I mean, I suppose we haven't spoiled recently that, you know, until recently, Bard used to just do this from turn 0 by existing. Of course, that's been toned back a bit now, but 3 chimes into your deck isn't particularly impressive. And what I read here is it's a 2-mana summon a 2/2 later on. I'd prefer to spend 2 mana to summon a 2/2. Now, like, we already had a card that's 2 mana summon a 2/2, and it also has a last breath effect that will pretty much do the most important part of this, which is putting a portal into your deck. So yeah, I'm not convinced at all.
Interesting. Yeah, we have to see. Like, I just think that Norra will be very good. We'll just play every of these immediate portal cards because it will just be like a combo deck. So yeah, maybe not.
It's just weird that it's a 2-mana. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just weird that it's a 2-mana do nothing at the moment. You need. Go ahead.
It's spell mana though. That's why I think it's like a little bit more valuable in this guy, for example, because you don't have to spend unit mana and just like. Because in Vision Norra, you have like 2 different matchups with Norra. You have the uninteractive Demacian mid-range elite deck, for example, that just can't deal with Norra. And then you have the I play every Mystic Shot, Scorched Earth, and Ravenous Lock deck in the game. Against the Mystic Shot, Ravenous Lock, Scorched Earth deck, you will just want to bank a little bit, flip your Norra first, and then you will just want to play her, and then immediately have like Burst Spell Draw open. And this will leave you with a lot of spell mana around. And then it will be nice to just play these cards out. While still sitting there with like the Mystic Shots and get excited and does nothing while you spend your mana on spells and not give them the target to level up Ezreal. I think this is just like going to be a deck that switches around these 2 different styles. It would be nice to be playing with spell mana.
It's a really good consideration.
Okay, but let's move on to the like less playable Norra cards here. I hope we all agree. Eclectic Collection. 7 burst. For each ally, plant a mysterious portal and 3 chimes in the top 10 cards of your deck, and plant a flashbob trap and 3 poison buff caps on random cards in the enemy deck. The dream is you have a full board, and instead of casting a Yordle in Arms and giving them +3/+3, you just do random stuff in your deck. Yeah, I gave it a 4, Tricky a 2,
Exactly.
and Wick a 1. I think it's just a bad card. Like, you want to elaborate?
Oh, it's a purple card.
Yep, that's it. It's a purple card.
Like, would this be overpowered if it would be top 4 cards? Like,
it'd be neat, but it is, as you said there, it is one of those win more type cards where if you have a full board, which is what you want to have, at least 5 units on the board before you play this, I'd much rather cast Yordle in Arms or even 4 Demacia, so because you know a good player as Norra will pull the Vanguard Sergeant anyway, so that's fine. But I saw a take on Twitter. Someone suggested, "Wow, guys, this is incredible karma," and that's how you know it's a bad card, right?
Yeah.
This is a good card if we can double its effect or triple its effect. Yeah, sure, but for 7 mana, no. Jace, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think this card is dog water.
I also think it's like just like Battle City. Pharaoh's Pool is still worse.
Yeah. Even when you have a full board and you pull these portals, you'll fill your hand then quite soon with these 0-cost and fleeting versions of the cards that you pull. And well, then you've got to decide which cards do I overwrite, because
Yeah.
you have a full board by definition of using this for max value at the start. So it's a bit awkward on top of not being great.
Yeah, I agree. It's just kind of just. Okay, next card, Living Library. Let's see. Hey, oh, Vic, you don't like
Interesting.
this card. 5 mana, 4/3 elusive, fair in Battle City. When I'm summoned, if one of your traps or boons has activated this round, draw 1. I gave it a 5, Tricky a 6, Vic gave it a 3. Don't see this card at all.
No, I think a lot of people are afraid of seeing a 4/3 elusive, but for 5 mana, I don't see it coming down early enough for it to be a threat, and just the way that you can remove it or just kill it, I don't know. It just feels like it's the best part about this card is the draw, and since it's situational, like if it was a 5 mana 4/3 elusive draw card, this would be great, but I don't know. I think the fact that it's Fae, that's funny, but I don't know. I think this
I'd
card's fine.
like to introduce a new angle to you, Wick, on this one, because I don't see a 5 mana 4/3 that's elusive and draws 1.
All
I
right.
see a target that has sat in your hand for a few turns while Bard has chimed it up quite a bit, because you
All
want
right.
you
All
want
right.
you want that as well. So now, even if it just gets 1/1 from one of those chimes activating, suddenly it's a 5 mana 5/4 that draws 1 and it's elusive. It's like
That's
suddenly
true.
that's kind of neat, and like because of the wording of its effect, if your traps or traps, yeah, not relevant really, but the boons. If this even hits 1 chime, it is a I've got to spend my sentry on this turn, because I can't let 5 damage go through. And yeah, I think, of course, you have to consider the cards at their face value, but also in how they're going to get played. And I think this should not be coming down as a 4/3 in any deck where it's unironically being played.
I also
Okay.
want to introduce another angle. I don't see this text mattering at all. I just think of the curve that you would like go like in Aphelios Fist or something, you'd go a Gleaming Lantern. And
Oh
then
my god, I
on,
guess discounter from Lantern.
yes, and then you play another
Oh
Lantern, turn
man.
4, and then you play this guy. Like turn 3 Lantern, turn 4 Lantern, plus Living Library, and then you just
I
have.
mean, you can play Living Library on 4.
Yes, but you can also play another Lantern before you play Living Library. Point. And it's just like super curve. So it has like 3 different homes, so I can't see it like playable.
Yeah, it'll find one of those homes. The other 2 will
Okay.
evict us, but that's okay.
You know I love elusive, so I wouldn't be mad
Oh.
about it. I just think I'm anti-copium on elusives right now.
I mean, Usaris were played back in the day, and if you think like Usari had actual effect
And
instead
now we
of
have Kane.
Challenger. Oh yeah,
Oh man. You sorry.
Usari is still better than Kane. Yeah. Realms Caretaker is next. Not a purple card. What?
Oh, why?
Okay.
Nice.
Interesting.
So Realms Caretaker is a 6 mana 4/4 Yordle. Do you need to read the text, or can you just read? Just kidding. So each round, the first time one of your traps or boons activate, give all allies +1/+1 and impact this round. So this is just for months, basically. Only activates each time you draw a chime. Me and Vic gave it a 2. Tricky, you gave it a 6. What do you think in this?
I did give it a 6. So the reason I gave this a 6 is because it is a way to convert all of these nondescript, completely random, possibly not great cards that these boons are pulling into something useful. So you stick this onto the board turn 6 or later in turn 6. You play something that allows you to draw aggressively from the top few cards of your deck. Now I just want to make sure I've got the ordering of this one right, because let's say we play Progress Day, for want of a word, and we actually were to draw 3 units. Do those 3 units hit the board first and then the spell and then the Caretaker's effect go off, or would the first one being pulled activate the Caretaker's effect and then the other 2 continue to get drawn?
I'm not sure, but I think what will happen is you draw the first card, then it gets summoned, then it activates.
Yeah. If that is the case, I probably want to tone this down by probably 2 points back to 4. But if it's the case all the boons are allowed to resolve first, this is a way to convert random units of nothingness into something useful.
Okay. Do you want to respond, or should I? Can just.
Feel free, Conansson.
So for me, it's just like way too much stuff has to go right. So you say you already have to have a board. That's one. Then you have to have boons or traps set up. That's two. Then you have to play a 6-mana 4/4. The opponent gets to do something. Gets back to you. Then you have to have, besides the 6-mana, a draw spell to trigger this the same round. Because if you wait until the next round start, that's just garbage. You need like at least 9 mana or something. Or like 8 mana for like a rummage. Or you need 8 mana, a board, and priority and the deck token to all you get is like a temporary +1/+1 and impact. I think that's just like way too slow. Like for 8 or 9 mana, you can just like you play this out and have your draw spell, and your opponent just goes buried in ice. You're very sad about your life.
Okay, yeah, those are reasonable points. Yeah. I still think that this is just a way to convert these poor-ish cards you're likely drawing. Like, by the time you're playing this, you should have a relatively stacked top of your deck, right? If your game plan is going correctly, like you'd want 2 or 3 boons at least in the top of your deck from what you've been doing so far. Now, maybe I'm overestimating how many boons you're likely to have primed and ready to go at a given stage, and I suppose only time will tell in playing these archetypes out how likely that is.
I just mean like for 6 mana you could play a Maduli, for example, and just basically instantly win the game if you have a lot of chimes set up.
Maduli doubles your boons as well, doesn't it? Not just 2 chimes. Yeah, those are so analogous for so long, but yeah, doubling in boons. Yeah.
Or you could literally play like a Shellfolk, and Shellfolk doesn't see play with 6 mana 4/4 and just gets flocked. And like this effect is like so much better than just 1/1.
Maduli is a Vandal City or Targon card.
That is it.
Vandal City.
Okay, yeah. So if it's the same region, yeah, you're probably playing that in its place.
Yeah. Okay, so do you settle on like 4 or do you want to keep 6?
I think I'll go in at 4. I still think it's better than 2 and 3, but yeah, it's not 6.
We'll change that in the background. Nice. Fun. And lastly, we have Norra's champion spell, Portalpalooza, 5 mana burst, Vandal City, plant 2 mysterious portals in the top 4 cards, draw 1. And I think we just have another case of portals good. I gave it a 7, gave it a 4, and Wick a 6. I'm at the highest. I just think you are again going to play these portal cards, and it's decent. You get 2 portals, so it's very likely to hit one like top 2 cards, and you just get a guy. First we summon guy, which block something, and another guy later on. Which I think is fair.
It's a fair cost for the card, yeah. Are you main decking this, or are you just happy to see it as Norra's champion spell?
I think again because I want the talented min card of just like burst speed, spending my mana without summoning actual units. Doing like Norra plus 3 damages or something. I'm going to main deck 1 or 2 copies.
Okay.
Yeah, I
we
definitely
need
think it's
draw to access
playable.
these.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just a comment there. We definitely need draw to access these, and Portalpalooza needs a bit. Is not enough draw. Like drawing 1 is nice, but like yeah, we need much more draw. And you mentioned rummage, that could work.
Yeah, I think about the other 5 mana draw spell in Vandal City. I believe what is it called? It's
Hidden
so bad that
Pathways?
it has hidden
6 mana.
pathways, right? It's 6 mana, but
Oh my
okay,
God.
so right, and I think about what Vandal City as a whole is, and I think that even like without Norra, this card is playable in some instances, just as a value engine. Like it gives you 2 units and a draw for 5 mana. And I think that inherently makes it an okay card to include in just. All right, this is completely garbage.
Yeah, but like if you put draw 1 on it, like I would play this.
That's true. If it had draw, 100%. Maybe. Does Ionian need that?
I mean, I just showed 9 lives. You just listen to it. And lives, the Liminal Guardian summons like a 3/2 and a 1 cost. Better because it summons like
Yeah.
not immediately.
So
9 lives is the best comparison because that card is never getting played.
Yeah, but if it's at draw
Then I
1,
guess,
it would be every deck.
Yeah, if it drew 1, yeah, it'd be decent.
Yeah, and so that's what I think. Like the draw one, I think is very powerful on this because like there's a chance for you to play and then instantly get it. It's like the Bard. Like it also makes me feel similar to like the Bard champion spell. The one where he he draws you a card instantaneously with that. What was it called?
I know it's
I don't
called,
know.
but you can't look it up because it's like
Traveler's Call or Caretaker's Blessing.
There
One
it
of the two.
is.
There we go. Yeah.
So it feels similar, but I think it's funny.
Okay. So for the full Norra set, final words here. I changed Norra's full set to a 9 because the other cards are definitely fair and balanced. Like get a bunch of random, not really worth playing cards in my opinion. I think Norra will just be another champion that doesn't really play with her support. Like for example, Timo with like Soul Scout was never a thing. I think Norra will just be like a good combo deck, either Shadow Isles and Haunted Relic. Summon.
Just turbo level her and get to work.
Yeah, turbo level her and like maybe have like a opponent that just Misty Shocks you just play the Tellstone into Mark of the Isles. 8 mini cards now, just save her for a turn. If you can't kill her and you get more portals. If she dies, you just summon 5 dudes for cost. You play with PNC with the Flame Chompers and just summon a bunch of guys this way with Pro Cannon, for example. No, not this one. Chompers, this one. Just summon the cannon. Definitely, like, there are multiple ways to flip her by turn. Realistically, it's probably turn 4. He taps out for a Aloof Travelers or something, then you just bam, bam, bam. What's I think
Leveling in deck is certainly a very strong part for kit.
I give it a 9. I think this will be the strongest champion of the new set for sure. And probably, I don't know if it like takes over Kaiser or something. Thing. Tricky, what's your final verdict on Archetype?
Okay, so my final rating of Norra's set is as a 6. I gave it a 6, and then I went and like did an average of the cards that were part of her thing and got 5.9. I'm like, you know what? Yep, cool. I feel okay giving this 6. I think Norra is good, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about her as a full set. I just feel as though while there's some strong cards in there, there's also some pretty poor cards. I think to evaluate her set means to actually take into account the competitive viability of cards that aren't going to get played, and that for me has to bring the average down. And otherwise, I suppose I feel as though evaluating Norra's full set is evaluating the best 3 cards, and that doesn't sit right with me. But yeah, 6. There's some really interesting ideas here. There's some cards that just are pack filler for want of a word, but I'm looking forward to playing Norra and seeing what she's like in a competitive sense.
Nice. Vic, what's your final words on
I wanted to agree with what Tricky said regarding the package of Norra. I think there are some very powerful cards, such as the champion itself, but there are also some of the worst cards I've ever seen in the game. So I think that as a package, it's going to add. There's going to be a lot of bad Norra decks. There's going to be a lot of bad Norra decks at the beginning, and I think like the Norra decks that will be good are going to be like Norra and then none of her package.
Yes.
And then just like general cards that could like keep like I'm thinking like, Norra, like elusive Ionia. Like just something that like, oh, she's an elusive 2/3. Like great.
Good
Like
enough.
I want to smack them in the face,
Yeah.
It's fine. So I think Norra is very powerful. I think her package is fine.
I also think I think you play Norra, then you play 1 or 2 Portalpalooza, then you play the Team Maker, and
That's it, yeah.
Still need these portals to be in your deck. You can't just rely on Norra hitting your opponent for 5 times.
Of course, it'd be a shame to like build a deck around Norra's good enough to play Norra, have her at that stage in the game, I don't know, hit with a Sentry Flock or honestly even a Vengeance wouldn't be too bad. And then suddenly it's like, well, I kind of need to get these portals going. I've done all the created card stuff. I've messed about for a while, and now I need my Norra going.
Okay, let's move on to the next set with Jax here. And I think we should just talk about this mechanic first. Like Jax actually doesn't have it on him, but the mechanic of the set is Improvise. where first of all you have these Weapon Master guys. All of these Weapon Masters are like dual region. Can be played in a lot of different decks and different archetypes. And you can also play every Weapon Master in Texas deck. And the Improvise basically has you, when they are summoned, you get to pick between 2 of all of these 8 in total different weapons. And there's like 2/0, tough, etc. etc. Whatever you pick from these 2, you get on the unit, and like how equipments work, you will just get the equipment back if it dies, the unit dies. So this via 1/1, you get put this pen on him. It's a 3/1 tough, basically like the failed guy, and then if he dies, you get the pen in hand. And yeah, but once you picked one of these 8 weapons, it's cheating, so you can't say see the same weapon again. So if you have pen or pain already picked, you show 2 of the other 7. And if it gets randomly generated, like for my portal, for example, then we'll just pick a random weapon for it. That's the overlying mechanic, and Jax doesn't really interact with it that much, to be honest. I think it's just a 2-mana Runeterra 3/2 Weapon Master, and he auto equips the Light of Icathia. Just gives him quick attack, nothing else, and if he dies, you get this weapon in hand. And once Jax is leveled, you go Overwhelm. So 0/0 weapon meme for Jax's saying, just imagine I have a real weapon. Then it levels up when equipped allies have struck for 15 damage again, also levels in deck. And they have to be striking, so like, for example, Swain damage doesn't count for it. And once he levels up, he on attack gives him +1/+1 for each equipped ally this round, and will also have Overwhelm. Turns into a Then you also have the Jax's Counter-Strike, which gives him Barrier this round and forges him, so gives him also +1/+1. This is like a new mechanic. Gives his Light of Icathia +1/+1, and yeah, quite a lot of going on here. Let's maybe start with the Improvise mechanic cards. Tricky, what do you think about the Improvise mechanic?
Perfect. So yeah, a lot to unpack there, and a really good rundown of what it is, because it's important. It's really crucial to understand how Improvise works before we can discuss these cards. I love Improvise as a mechanic. I think two of the very unusual points there is, firstly, unlike something like Manifest, which we're used to for so long now, you only get 2 options, and the fact that it depletes as well is fantastic, because you get rid of these awful moments where the opponent that is playing big units happens to get the Fishwhack, which is the Overwhelm weapon 3 times in a row, and it's like, what can you do there? So the fact that choosing Fishwhack or any of the weapons removes itself from the pool is fantastic, and also if a improvised unit is willed into being and just summoned without being played, you get a random weapon. That's fantastic. That's a really neat way of dealing with something that the game really isn't able to deal with quite well. So I love it, and how it sits with Jax, and also the multi-region aspect as well. I mean, the fact that these weapon masters are available to so many different regions just allows so many other units to avail of the improvised mechanic, either directly or indirectly.
Hey, big Improvise.
Yeah, I agree. I think Improvise is a very fun, versatile, and it's going to be a very skill testing mechanic. I don't know, all of these items, all these equipment cards are just also so very flavorful, and it's so interesting to see them add a depleting resource mechanic, and in addition to the multiple region leaving Battle City. Like, there's a lot happening with Jax and his package, and I think that it is a sign of like the next stage of the game, like, fully coming into this, like, finally, or this the end of this year. But I think that Improvise is just so sick. It's so interesting, and it's gonna provide, because like the funny thing about these cards, right? They come down and they give you permanent value. Like, that card will stay in your hand for the rest of the game. Like, unless it's like discarded or taken care of by the opponent. But like, this is like, I don't know. It's like, weapons are just so interesting because they're reusable. And I think like that's what makes all these improvised cards so powerful. Is like, they come down, they give you this like a keyword for the rest of the game that you can like move around. I don't know. It's cool. It's really great.
Yeah, I also like it, and I think these Improvise cards will add a lot of stuff to the game, a lot of depth to the game as well, while just being like vanilla units that are different each game. I think it's really funny and
exciting. You play the Ionian Hookmaster, for example. That's going to be different every game you play it, and your game plan based on turn 2 pivots immediately because, I've suddenly got the fearsome weapon, and you know what? Now I'm playing against Tamraka. They can't deal with fearsome. I can work with this.
so like playing against aggro and then you have to roll the Shepherd's Authority and it's just
Yeah.
the race now. Okay, let's move on to like checks. While I really love Improvise, I gave it the lowest grade in our group, 5, Tricky at 8, and Wick at 9, so kind of similar there. I guess I'll start really quickly. I don't see how Jax does anything at all ever. I think he just dies to Mystic Shot, and you might say, yep, Norra also dies to Mystic Shot. Now you have this alternative game plan to just level her up in the deck, and then play her, and then when they target her, you just do your stuff. You draw your cards, and then you do a bunch of stuff. With Jax, you can level him deck as well, but then he's still just a random heat stick that hits your opponent for a bunch of damage. You guys just gets Vengeance or whatever move you play, Flock or like that at this point of the game.
I mean, it's the same point of the game, though, right? They're both 2 mana.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that Nora's going to be leveling up that much faster than Jax to where the 2 to like they're both 3 HP 2 drops, right? And I think those are insane.
Yeah, but like
And
summoning 6 created units is much easier than striking for 15 damage.
okay, but then so then like let's say they kill him, you still get the light.
Yeah, which is just giving one guy quick attack.
I'm just saying, like I think that, and then you also have to consider his origin, right? And what that enables in the deck. It's just such a flexible deck, right? If you view the weapons that are being improvised sort of as your combat tricks, very slow combat tricks, obviously, and very open. So they're not really combat tricks; they're just combat. They're the equipment are your spells, right? And that's how Jax defends. I don't know. I'm trying to communicate how like normally with these Runeterran champions, they don't have any spells. There's like very little protection. There's like very little interaction. But I think that the Improvise is Jax's, protection and interaction. If that makes sense. But I don't know. I think Jax is very strong, and I really think that the deck will be powerful.
Ricky, you seem to agree.
I agree with Vic, and not as far as giving it a 9, but I feel as though Jack's a good unit. In the decks you play him, you are very happy to see Jax on turn 2 because he is a 2 mana 3/2 quick attack. That is, that's a solid unit. I suppose there's an awful lot to unpack in terms of how we rate Jax. There is the unit, there is the Grandmaster at Arms origin ability, and there is the Light of Acacia which comes with him. I think you're having a good game. Of course, Jax does level in deck as well, at a much different speed to Norra, but still levels in deck. I see Jax as a solid unit that holds the Light of Acacia for you until such time that you need it. I am imagining Jax in a deck that is able to use the Forge mechanic, which was mentioned in his spell, Forge being grant an ally +1/+1, or if they're equipped, grant those stats to his weapon instead. Because if you can get a few forges off while Jax is holding the Light of Acacia for you, suddenly you have a very versatile thing. Because 1 mana give a unit overwhelm for a period of time. That's not exciting. But if suddenly you get 2 or 3 stacks onto this, it's a very good weapon. And I will touch off as well. I know you mentioned the meme of the Light of Acacia, just being a case of if if Jax had a real weapon. I think there is something in the most recent lore for Jax that not only is it a funny weapon, it's also the final Light of Acacia that he carries with him on his journey. That's cool. Like I actually kind of see that in the decks that I'm imagining for him with the Forge mechanic, that this actual Light of Acacia is going to be carried on from unit to unit throughout the game and it's not just going to stay on Jax.
Very interesting.
Summary over.
So I treated the deck building thingy a little bit differently because I also think like Jax's whole package is quite good, and I just think Jax is like a basically. His effect is good, but he will just die to a free fire tracker, and you will. We'll talk about this maybe later when we have all of the cards seen, because I think this is best Herald Champion card pool we had so far. Go through the cards first. Okay, Ionian Hookmaster is the first one, is in Noxus and Ionia, and a 2-mana 1/1 when I'm summoned, Improvise. I think one thing we should mention again is this will never be a 1/1. This will be a 3/1 or a 3/2, a 4/3. It will never just stay a 1/1. Consider that. We all gave it a similar grade, 7, 6, and 8. Gave it a 7, Tricky a 6, and Tricky you are like the highest card.
Yeah, I think the one thing that made me rate this card so highly was its regions. I think that Noxus and Ionia love just having a little bit of ways to spend some spell mana in more aggressive archetypes. I don't know, pink-red region, that combination to me, I've always wanted it to work because it just feels so funny and aggressive. But I don't know. I think this card is just so good. It's a 2-mana XX, and I don't know. It something about this card. Maybe it's just so flavorful. Maybe I'm just like in love with Improvise, but I think Improvise is just bonkers. So and I think this is like a cheap improviser. It's gonna be sick.
I agree, it's just going to be a good 2-drop in like aggressive Noxus strategies, for example. I think Pirates will be considering it. Just random decks that are trying to do a mid-range game plan. Much to add. Tricky, you gave it a kind of a lower grade.
It's a bit of a lower level, but when I gave it that lower level, I considered the fact that it's of course never 2-mana 1/1 that it gets one of these weapons. I never actually, and as Wick touched off, thought of the regions, and because of that, I definitely think this is at least a 7 rather than a 6. The regions are so vital to this card actually that, yeah, as pointed out, Noxus and Ionia would love the opportunity to find a way of sneaking some maybe unorthodox or other game plans suddenly into their deck. Like, let's take Noxus for example. If you were to roll Shepherd's Authority, now you have a very versatile unit that, sorry, what's the word I'm looking for? Equipment that you can just make anything more of a beat stick. And Red Region loves that. Red Region loves hitting you. So yeah, I think the regions are enough to bump it up to a 7 for me.
Okay, great, so we all agree. Let's move on
Good
to
card.
Fireth, Reaper of Sands. One's the Shadow Isles and Dreamer version, 1-mana 1/1, can't block, ephemeral, random summon, I improvise. Okay, I'm just like an
Interesting.
outlier here. I gave it a 4, and Ricky gave it a 7. I think this one is like the weakest improvised card because it's just ephemeral, and ephemeral units usually don't do that much. You get like the weapon for 1 mana, but you still have to play the weapon, and it wouldn't just put a random 2. It said 1 mana, improvise a weapon, or like manifest a weapon. I wouldn't play the deck. And I think Shadow Eyes and Shogima just have much better weapons. Equipment to choose. I keep calling them weapons for better equipments to choose. Yeah, whoever agree with me.
I'll jump in on this one. So turn 2, if you have token on turn 2, yeah, this card isn't fantastic, but token on turn 1, I like this card quite a bit. Let's say, for example, you roll the combat reel. Suddenly, it's a free 3/2 attacker on turn 1 that your opponent will, they'll just tank that. But now you've got the combat reel in hand, and you're not that far behind, really. After that, I think it just gives you access to you probably want to play this with the attack token to get some value out of the fact that you have it's ephemeral. I think it's just to equipment, and also potentially to start quite early in deciding what equipment you can and can't get later on. So I like this card a lot. I'm not sure exactly what deck is going to love it, but some decks will. I think this is a solid card.
Anything you want to add?
I think this card is going to be really interesting because the fact that it's ephemeral can't block means that you can't just drop it on your defensive turn in order to mitigate an opponent's attack, and I think that's one of the best parts of ephemeral units. It is a 1 mana, just add a weapon to your hand, which I think is kind of, I mean, it's valid, right? Like it instantaneously just gives you something to use for the rest of the game, like all the improvisers do. The
You probably push
region
2 damage as
combos,
well, right? You probably you
yeah,
yeah.
it
That's
pushes
nice.
at least 2 damage. I mean, that is funny. Oh, okay. Okay, this is kind of a funny turn 1 play, huh?
It is, yeah. Like let's say you get to
Um,
Shepherd's Authority. Yeah,
right.
like
Ooh.
that's a swing. Like
Ooh.
the sort of deck
Yeah,
that
that's
plays this
painful.
will actually be like, huh, do I really want to take 4 on turn 1 here? Like that's
Yeah, I'm okay. It is a Shadow Fiend, right? But you get the Shepherd Authority in hand, though.
back in your hand afterwards.
You know, it is value. And Conansson, could you scroll up a little bit? I can't see your score
And,
on the
Oh, oops. Sorry, my
spreadsheet.
bad.
Gentlemen,
No
I'll be
worries.
back in 1 moment. I'll be able to rejoin the conversation then.
Okay. But yeah, so I think Fireth is definitely one of the weakest weapons masters.
Yeah,
But I think if it was any stronger, it would be crazy. Does that make sense?
yeah. I don't think you can remove anything. Oh, not make him broke. Like really,
Right. It's like almost there.
he's like the second worst. Like he's the worst weapon master, I would say, from all of. Second worst is Jax, in my opinion.
Oh my god, you're trolling. No, I think this card won't see any play outside of Jax decks. And that maybe makes it a lot weaker than Ionian Hookmaster or the other improvisers.
I think there will be a funny like deck that will try to copy this one as much as possible. Get a bunch of them in a harrowing, and then you get a bunch of random funny deck.
That
Be a thing.
you just put. Oh, you know what? If Rack was here, he would be talking about Hecarim.
Oh yeah, Hacker Room.
It's Hecarim support. You know, this is actually Shark support, so maybe it's a good card. Who
Yeah, it's
knows?
just like Shark Chariot.
I think we can maybe start talking about the other one, and then
Yeah.
hopefully Tricky will return. But
Yeah, let's talk about Catch. Really Catch of the Archetype. It's a
Yeah, I see what you did there.
1 mana burst,
hello.
Demacia and Reliord. Give an Adept +1/+1 this round. It's Radiant Strike. Or equip it with an equipment in hand that costs 2 or less. Obvious synergy is you have like your Improvise guy in hand, open attack, and then you can just equip your suffix M5000, your random guy. Big attack. But you can also just. And you kind of all agree on this one. I give it an 8, Tricky a 7, Vic 9. Yeah, maybe Vic too.
It's sick. Look, okay, so you look at the region combo, right? And what do you guys think about when you think about that region combination?
Sejuani.
Big beefy ass units.
What? No. It's Mono Fiora, all right?
Oh Jesus.
See, all right. This is Mono Fiora support. It even has the right regions. It's literally on the card. All right. This card in general. Okay, this card's sick. The fact that you can like earth summon weapons from your hand is gonna be insane. Like, I don't know. I think it's just so good. It's fantastic because like Freljord loves this. Like maybe Demacia doesn't care that much, but Freljord loves it, and Freljord needs anything. So I think it's sick.
Okay, Vic, I have a question. Where do you get weapons?
Where do you get weapons in Freljord? You improvise, bro.
Yeah, but there's literally no Improvise.
There's the chef.
I guess if you like play checks and Freljord specific.
Maybe, yeah.
So,
But even as a +1/+1, it's cool.
if you like play the master, you can play spoiler Demacian Steel and then burst speed give +1/+1 permanently.
Oh,
That's
that's so much better than just
crazy.
that's so much better just giving a +1/+1, right?
Yeah, it's broken. Like Mono Fiora will be over the roof.
Bro, I'm playing Mono Fiora day 1 to Masters. All right, what are you talking about?
Okay, if you go game 1 to Masters with Mono Fiora, I will draw your personal
I'll be
image.
impressed.
I will change my profile pic to Fiora with your face.
Nice. Perfect.
Yeah. For
Okay,
1
now
week,
I have
right?
to.
Yeah, for one. Okay, yeah, but Catch is a
Oh.
good card, we all agree, right?
Yeah, Catch is a solid card. I think the only downside of it is the fact that, and why I gave it a 7, is that equipping something from hand, your opponent is going to have a decent understanding you're probably running Catch in your deck, and they'll know if you have an equipment in your hand that what the equipment is, because a unit has died and it's manually gone back to hand, so it's revealed. So they will be able to play around it somewhat. So yeah, nothing spectacular here. I mean, Radiant Strike is a 0 out of 10. Catch is definitely better, but I'm not going to give it anything more than 7.
Yeah.
You can also like use the weapon you don't have. For example, this guy where you usually have to kill an ally to play it, you can just put it immediately.
True.
But it's okay, we have
That's
another 4 cards to
terrifying.
cover. Move to the next one. Wandering Shepherd. 3 mana, 2/2, Targon and
Oh,
Vandal. And yeah, quite a split. Play, pick an ally, it improvises. If you don't, I improvise. You have the choice to target something. If you click on done, then you get him improvising. Not if you just get the truth, probably. So I give it a 7, 5, and Trick you are the highest.
Yeah.
Maybe you start, then Trick.
Yeah. Well, I thought that this card would be pretty good in like faded decks. Being able to target an ally and then creating a card in hand that will be able to trigger your faded from then on out is pretty funny. It's a little big. Excuse me. It's a little expensive at 3 mana as a 2/2, but it can and probably won't frequently be a 2/2 because there's probably a lot of times where you can just play this on curve by itself and improvise itself, and that's pretty sick. I don't think that the region combination hurts it at all. I think having this in Bandle, which is going to be the Swarm again, is fine. And then, as I mentioned previously in Targon, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if it's played in Faded. I think I don't know. Maybe I'm too high on Improvise, but I don't know. I think this card is going to be pretty powerful.
Okay, what's your counterpoint?
Counterpoint. I also immediately thought of Fated when I considered this card, and that's why I gave it a 5. I just don't see where I find time to play this, because I want to play the very aggressive 1-drop. I can't even think of his name, or his playstyle isn't aggressive. There we go, Saga Seeker. He just is an aggressive man. And then I want to play a goat, and then I want to play a dragon, and then I kind of want to bank so I can start playing start targeting my units. I just don't see when I'm going to fit it in. It'd be nice to have at like any other cost, or if it did a little bit more. And even when it gets the weapon on it, I suppose not itself. Maybe you play it on turn 4 and you give a weapon to the White Flame. That could be pretty neat, especially if you find the Overwhelm one. What if you don't? What if you just find something like Pot of Pain with Impact, and maybe one of the other not so exciting ones? It's a case of I just don't see space for it. And then in Bandless Swarm, which I didn't initially really consider too much, it's fine. I prefer to play Lantern at three costs, and it's already a fairly tight deck. It's a good card. I just think there are better options in the 2 archetypes where it's meant to fit in.
Counterpoint. I don't see it of the archetypes you talked about. I
You
just
just had to be awkward, didn't you? You just had to be awkward.
I just see it with Norra. Play Norra on 2.
Of course.
You play Wandering Shepherd on 3, and you give it Scout.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Or you give it +1/+2. It's just a
I-
2/4 elusive that hits you, or just 30 Scout, or just a 4/4 elusive. What is this?
I have a question. Wait, hold on. Does Nexus Strike count impact?
No, like, no. But my
Okay.
point is just it's like a 4 health guy now.
Yeah, if the unit is
No, no,
blocked,
no.
if unit is blocked, Impact won't count as a Nexus Strike.
Yes.
Okay.
It has to be the actual unit hitting the unblocked thing.
Because it procs lifesteal, I believe.
And yeah, like just every equipment is so good with it. Like 12 mana, I can't ignore. I don't even want to block with it any case. Overwhelmed with have elusives, you have Fearsome, and tough, like Tails against the your stuff with Max Brain deck, put tough on the
Yeah,
Norra, and like just like GG. One plays House Spider, you play Norra, and then you play right turn, Random Shepherd, tough. I think this
Great curve into Norra.
it's a nice curve. Okay, it's a nice Nora curve. Yeah, I definitely consider this as part of Nora's stuff, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I have to agree with Tricky that it's go for like Fated. Because like we literally have the best card in the one of the best cards in the game, power
The
level wise.
dragon.
Oh, the blinding mist. What's it called?
Well, Blind
Blind
Mystic
Mystic.
is good at the moment, right? Because it destroys the Void Abomination, which is going to 9 mana anyway. But what else you hit him with this?
I think this is just an insane card. Like 4 mana, 4/3, and just silence a unit. Failure trigger, but the mana point is so complicated.
Yeah, it is for sure.
4 mana. Yeah. Don't think this will fit as well. I think there will be a home for it. Like if you just play Bandits one and just play it as a 3-drop, that is like a 3/4. Kill it, you have it down, and then you get this. I think it will find some home. Probably.
Okay.
Next card, Piltovan Castaway. One, Bilgewater, Peel, Attune, get 1 mana back, has 1 mana back, and again we kinda similar on it. I gave it a 6, 3, 4, and yeah, so maybe I
That's a
start.
tricky start. Oh, I was gonna have
Tricky-
tricky start with the low.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, go
Sorry.
ahead. I saw Wandering Shepherd and gave it an appropriate score, and I saw Piltovan Castaway next to it. I was like, well, that's worse. Yeah, I mean, look, the fact that it tunes obviously does discount it a little bit as well, and I suppose you're not too worried about the stat line, because that 2/1 can very easily become a 3/3 or likes that, and it gives you access to a weapon in regions you might otherwise struggle to get weapons. But I wasn't there was nothing sparking immediately of like what I'm playing this in. And with so many cards, that came quite naturally. Now maybe I didn't think hard enough for this one. But it did. Even when I thought a little bit more about it, I just couldn't say, "Wow, I want Piltovan Castaway in this deck. This fits a perfect gap." And Shepherd, there was the Fated, there was a Swarm idea. This just didn't proc for me. And if I'd be open to the ideas that you guys have on where this fits.
Where do you see this?
Yeah, well, I think that Attune is very powerful in Piltover. And so essentially this card is giving you a 50% discount on the weapon that it generates. So I think that is very powerful. Once again, Improvise is just bonkers mechanic in my opinion. So having a 3 mana 2/1 that will buff itself and then help you buff other things in the future. I think maybe it's a lot weaker in Bilgewater and outside of Jax decks, but I think in Piltover is where this thing is kind of funny. Mostly.
So my rating was the same as Tricky. I gave Wandering Shepherd the appropriate rating, and then I like looked at this guy and was like, "Yes." And I don't
Definitely.
see. Also don't see. One thing that came to mind was like Nami TF. Kind of funny to have friends and
Yeah.
Nami exclusives.
But it's so fragile a curve already. I mean, you're not playing on 3. That's for sure, right?
Why not?
Why
I
not?
mean, okay, Nami TF, you pass turn 1, you pass turn 2, you play this on 3.
So you
You
play
bank
Double
turn-
Trouble and then you play this.
You play Double Trouble, then you play this. Okay, then you've banked no mana going into turn 4.
1 mana.
You have 1 mana.
Oh, sorry, 1 mana, of course. Okay, not feeling great there.
You
It's
get
not a
3
2/1.
units.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
2/1.
fine unit, and like maybe it takes some removal off TF, Nami, and Shelly, but ugh,
Oh,
I'm not sold on
maybe.
that.
I think it's a fine card like Jax Arc.
Oh yeah.
It's next card, Blades of the Fallen. Interesting card. Give an ally last breath. Summon a Ecathian mage. No, it's not Garage.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I read that as a mage audit. summon a Ecathian Mirage with my round. Bellow eyes. I
He's
give
a
it a
weapon
7,
master.
highest at a 9, and why is it so high for you?
Okay, so I'll start with this one. Firstly, due to right wording, I misinterpreted what this card did exactly, and since then I have had this clarified on Twitter, so I can say exactly how the card works. Maybe it was obvious to you guys, it wasn't to me. When I read, give an ally last breath, the effect being, summon a Ecathian Mage with my equipment this round. I looked to another card that gave equipment to something else, which was Sharesies. Sharesies, which we see here, actually uses the yellow highlighted new vocabulary of, or new vocab of equip, which is the giving of a weapon to a unit. So because this card didn't say equip it with my equipment this round, I thought that unit dies, equipment goes back to hand, Mirage is summoned with a copy of that equipment.
No. Yeah.
Which I
Yes.
think was a reasonable reading of the card. Now, of course, we can't take cards at face value. I should have known this, and since then it's been clarified that no, the weapon actually just goes straight onto the Mirage. I still think the card is bonkers. I think maybe an 8 because of that.
Maybe
The
an
card
8.
is
Okay.
really good. It takes a negative trade onto a unit and suddenly gives you a nice solid, like let's say on average 4/4. That's I like 1 mana 4/4s. They're particularly good. Some of my favorite 1 mana units, and for that reason, it's an 8 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think this card is a very funny card in regards to dodging removal. You know, somebody points a vengeance at one of your big units with equipment on it. You pop this on it, then after that all resolves, you have a nice Mirage with that weapon. And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, would this just work as a 1 mana summon a 3/2 even without equipment?
Yes.
Because it doesn't require. Okay. So, I mean, maybe this is a little stronger than a 6. I think that in Shadow Owls and Shurima, this is kind of scary since, they do have a lot of self-sacrifice stuff. So there's ways for you to just kind of forcefully get that value. This also enables Glutton onto anything,
Yes, it does, and you
which,
can
which
really
is
game that
super
quite a
dumb.
bit.
It's
Um,
really dumb.
I'm just considering right now. You're attacking with turn 2 in your Shadow Isles Shurima sack deck. You play Curse Keeper, Blades of the Fallen on it, and then you butcher it. That's
Yeah.
terrifying. That is
Oh, that's really
absolutely
nasty.
terrifying.
Oh,
That's
that's nasty.
It's 3
That's
cards, but you're putting 10 damage on board immediately.
Yo, I love it.
I don't know.
Wait.
I'm not that high on
Yeah,
it.
yeah, man.
I always like the fun stopper. I don't know. It's funny combo, but like, let's say
Yeah, like that's not its home, right? But like this is just a good card.
I don't think like this deck is that good on its own. I think I only like if the gluttony was not in the game, I would give it 4 or 5. I like the
You think it's great because of Glut?
yes.
Interesting.
Like if you just look at this and say, let's make this a 1 mana 3/2, would this be good? Yeah, probably. And there's many cards like that in like Magic, for example. You have if you kill my guy, I get the same guy back, 1 mana, or I get another guy. If you just say this is a 1 mana 3/2, okay, but we already have a 1 mana Bloodthirsty Marauder.
1 mana 3/1, isn't
Yeah,
it?
1 mana 3/1, and this is no play at all. Just for the face value, you have to do even more for that 1 mana 3/1. And in this case, that you have to kill your own unit for it. And as another hoop, can't rely on your opponent killing your unit. Sometimes play funny loose.
Well, you don't have to. Work for that. Like quite often, you can make a situation where you develop. Opponent then plays a slow speed removal, essentially slow speed removal spell or fast speed. Like let's say a Vile Feast. You're like, okay, I'm gonna now pop that unit and get a 3/2, and suddenly it's your initiative again. And yeah, you can push some damage with this in unorthodox ways.
I can still see this, but it's still good by the Bloodthirsty. Can push some damage, but and there was a like funny combo with like a bunch of guys on turn 2. Like your opponent just wild feasts one guy and then blocks the other guy and then just challenges you. Funny 3 cards. Not very likely to happen on turn 2.
True.
I don't want to be a fun breaker, but I think the real home of this card will be maybe some kind of broken gluttony combo.
Broken
Just-
Gluttony set.
Like some 6-drop or something. Like you just want to go into, I don't know, Maduli more regularly. And then you play, I don't know, Risu. And then you Gluttony Risu and Rise of the Fallen Risu. Gluttony.
Or Conchologist finds it in your Darkness deck. You play this on Ishtali, get Rekindler, get your champion back. Boom.
Yeah. Also a funny combo. And I think this is where the real home is. I don't think that the face value is. Maybe it's also different because magic is different and back to this first spell will be good. I don't think it's like a game. It's a funny card.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Hearts made whole. Changing it. And yeah, 4-mana burst, Bilgewater and PNC, also Weaponmaster, all of these cards are Weaponmaster, by the way, you can all play them with checks. To play, discard 1, draw 2, and if you discard an equipment, summon 8 here. And I was on a circle one. I first had it as a 4. Rick also said this.
All the way up at 9, yeah.
Why is it so high?
So, why is this high? Firstly, do a region, and both those regions really like drawing cards. Now, they have various ways of drawing cards, but options are always good. So, the effect is to play discard 1, then draws 2, and if you discard an equipment, summon a mage. So, obviously you really want to be discarding an equipment with this if you actually, to actually get any sort of proper value out of it. Now, it is a burst speed summon, which is quite nice. I think it's important to consider here that there's going to be times when you want to get rid of equipment that it just isn't particularly in with your game plan. I'm trying to think of archetypes that would or wouldn't like particular types of equipment, but anyone listening and yourselves as well it'll come to mind that there's certain weapons or equipment you just don't really want or need, and being able to get rid of those in a really efficient way is very, very good. Like there's an immediate comparison to something like Eye of Nakaporis, which is draw 2, summon a 2/2 for 5 mana. This is, in its best case scenario, it's get rid of something you weren't planning on using anyway, draw 2 and summon a 3/2, and it's 1 cheaper, and it's in 2 different regions. So I really like this card. I think it's a very, very strong card, and yeah, just being able to draw is really, really strong. And to draw 2 at 4 mana, I know technically you're going 1 card down, but drawing 2 new cards is very, very good. I like this card a lot.
I like how you compare this with Eye of Nakaporis. Also the card I would compare it to. If I could re-rate Eye of Nakaporis, I think like an 8 or 9 for sure, because it dropped the whole meta and made like pirate aggro deck. But this is just so much better than it. So much better. Just get a 2 all the time. Don't have to rely on having a good card 1. Like, why would I ever play Parts Made Whole in a deck over Eye of Nakaporis, over Rummage, over like even like something like Salvage, cost 2 or 2 better than having to discard a card if I don't happen to have a weapon.
But it's what you define as a real card. I think like in this you're going to like accumulate some some junk as far as the equipment goes.
Yeah, but
in my opinion.
What I'm saying is you never play this outside of an equipment. Never.
Yeah, it's not going to replace Eye of Nakaporis. Like the Bilgewater thing, it's not going to suddenly find its way into dedicated Alawi decks if they still exist. But as far as that, it's a really good card for equipment, and it's going to be one of the strongest cards in equipment.
Give you that it will be good in equipment decks, but I think the Weaponmaster decks will be a little bit slow to use because you have to have a unit and you have to have a die, and you have to want to get rid of your weapon immediately, which will be fine, but I don't think you will play 3 copies of it. I don't think it will be broken.
I mean, there's lots of good cards that you wouldn't play 3 copies of. But I think it's a solid 2 of.
Yeah, I can get behind. I don't think it will be one of the broken cards. I don't think you will ever play this on 4. If a unit
Wick, where do you
died,
fall on this one?
I don't know. It's so expensive. I mean, it does draw 2 just for discarding 1. I think with all the improvising that you're going to be doing, there is a possibility that your hand kind of gets a little full, you know. Those weapons are always going to be coming back in hand, and at times maybe you don't need 2 or 3 equipments. You just toss the one that you need the least and, you know, refill your hand. I think it's also funny as Jinx support. I think in that sort of deck, you know, late game, if you just play a Jinx and a parts made whole, it's kind of funny, but it's very expensive, and Jinx decks are all dog water, so any card that is Jinx related must be bad. Um,
Piltovan next.
I don't know. Nah, never,
Norra.
never. No, no way. Nah, Jinx will never be played ever again. I think the funniest part about this card is in equipment and Jax decks, it's a burst summon. And I think that's valuable. Yeah, I think that's one of the coolest parts. Burst summoning.
Agreed. I think we have said all of. But this one, we have like a whole full other set of cards to cover.
Yes, let's
A
keep
little bit
moving
faster.
on this.
Entrancing Lure here. And a burst Ionian Noxus. And a challenger this round if it's draw 1. Whoa!
We found a 10.
I gave it a 4.
Mhm.
Quick summaries here. I gave it a 4. I think we'll never see play out of equipment decks and wave. Like, sure, it draws 1, but combat set up already. Action can sometimes play it as a one-off or pick.
I don't know. I saw this card and I just thought about Zed, and I was like, let's go. Yeah, Sonic Burst is cool, but this one is also Nox's. So I don't know. Just burst summoning, like the fact that it's more flexible and could draw you a card, like this card plus the card that it's associated with, the
Fishwack?
Fisher.
Yeah.
No, the actual, yeah, the Ionian Hookmaster. I mean, it's going to be really cool because no matter, like, you're probably going to have, I don't know, maybe it is too narrow and too niche to the draw part happen often enough, but maybe give me. Yeah, maybe if it was Grant Challenger. Maybe I'm too high on this. I'm probably way too high on this. The more I look at it, I'm
An awful
way
lot of
too
it does
high
come
on
down to how
this.
good equipment, as we keep touching on this, how equipment is as a whole. Because I see this as
Mhm.
like the if it's equipped thing is irrelevant. Like it's got to be equipped. Like, that's in the sort of deck this
Yeah.
gets played in. This is given out a challenger, draw 1,
I'll
and
take this down to a 9 at least.
yeah, I think I'm happy at 8 because burst speed giving a challenger and drawing 1. That's just a solid effect. You're going to be looking to use this on a unit that is quick attack. I wonder if there's a cheap card in this archetype that has quick attack already. Boom, there's Jax. Yeah, so I think this is a solid support card for that. Outside of Weapon Masters, yeah, I'm not too particularly impressed by it, but in its home, I think it's going to be another solid card.
As maybe like, but I think next card, Sharesies. For this one on Twitter. 2 burst Targon Bundle. Equipped ally the stats and keywords of its attachment around and equip the attachment to burst speed attachment over and attached guy achieves stats for this account. Kind of strict. Gave it a 7. Gave it a 7 because X will be very good. Play this outside. Deck is very.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I just want to have 2 Papercraft Dragons. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's like the fact that this card works on attachments, and we had that verified. I think that's crazy, and it's a really good way to dodge removal. You just move your equipment around and buff up an ally on the field. It's 2 mana. It's in Targon and BC. I think it's going to be super sick. There's so many ways to use this card. Yeah, I don't know. It's so cool. I think it's going to be crazy.
I don't know. I didn't know it works on
Yes, it works on
Mhm.
attached units. You can take a Yuumi and say, you know what, Yuumi, you're done supporting this guy. I'm gonna bump you over here to pump this unit for a few turns now. Like that
Yeah.
alone is worth 1 mana. Being able to move an attached unit permanently away from something else.
It's
The
crazy.
fact then it's a burst speed, and that the unit keeps both the stats and the keywords for that
Yeah.
round. Like, what's the name of the 4-cost elusive attached unit that doesn't seem to play? Rainbow
Rainbow
Fishes?
fish.
Yes, that's kind of neat here. Like, I don't see Rainbow Fish.
Yeah.
Think Rainbow Fish sees an awful lot play, but now it's yeah, no, it's actually kind of okay.
I think. Yeah.
It's
I
a
was just
really
gonna
good
bring up.
card.
Yeah, I think Aphelios is almost Aphelios is almost good. So this card makes it kind of bonkers.
Yeah,
Raise it up
What
to
would you
an
like
8
to
for
do,
me.
Connor? All right,
yeah,
because of attach.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a good
Cool.
spell. I think it's crazy.
Okay. So overall for Jax cards,
Oops.
so I think Jax self is not that good. Full set is quite covering him. He has most spells in the set. Terror allies or champions. But I think self is kind of weak. 5, I gave him his play because
Yeah,
I'm
I just
inclined to.
love improvise. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Tricky.
The names are so similar when
that's
it's
I
said
fine.
know,
quickly.
I know.
um, I'll go ahead here. So I agree with you, Conansson. This is just 7 is a really appropriate score for that. There's some really solid cards here, and that has to get dragged down a bit then by the fact that some of them are a little bit dependent on the success of the archetype itself as a whole. And yeah, cool cards. Hope they work out well. I'm excited to play Jax.
Yeah, yeah. I think my score was primarily targeted at the fact that I really, really love improvise, and the continuous value that the archetype and the keyword brings. I think it's really funny. It's really cool. It's a very, very innovative, in my opinion.
Nice. Okay, move on to the last champion you have to cover, and then you have some cards.
Oof.
Oh, you have Ornn. Yeah, this go already. I'm not a big fan of Ornn. And read him first. 7 mana, 4/4 in Freljord. Tough. Then play equip that copy of an ally's equipment or the strongest equipment. And if an ally, you get the copy from equipment. No ally, edge ally, equipped ally, then you get. And for free, attack Forge me twice. Forge is a new keyword that basically unit 1+1, and then there's an equipment. That equipment that they have like this Darkin Halberd. Does the permanent watch it? Doesn't have equipment on. And then level up with an ally has struck for 10 plus damage, so it's the same as Y and Narcissus. There is an up deck, then upgrade he gets is also summons an attack the Spirit of the Ram, Overwhelm guy with 9/9. He gets on the side. Okay, I gave it a 2, Tricky 5, and with the highest.
Yeah, I think that although this is a 7 mana champion, I think the fact that he's gonna be able to flip in deck, even though an ally striking for 10 isn't super easy to achieve. I think in a slower big Freljord, I think it definitely is achievable for him to come down on curve flipped. I think that based off the new cards and all of the new tools that the different regions are getting, I think that meta is going to be a little bit slower, and I don't think that 7 is too heavy of a card. I think my 7 rating might be a little high. I just think that the meta will be slow enough to allow this card to at least attack once. And I think attacking once is fine because you double an equipment and then you buff it. So I think that that's a lot of value in and of itself. It doesn't end the game, but it helps you get over the top, I think, a lot of the time. I don't know. I don't know. This card's weird. I didn't have too much time to think about it. I don't know. I'll never play this card up, to be honest.
Tricky?
So yeah, I've got to preface this by saying I'm definitely biased in favor of Ornn. I like Ornn. In that little bit of League of Legends I play Ornn whenever Teemo's banned. Ornn is a fun champion to me, and I like his voice lines. To evaluate Ornn properly and why I gave him a 5, I think it's important to consider the types of decks you play Ornn in. Ornn is going to be in a very forge heavy type of deck, which means that when he comes down as a 4/4 tough, he's going to be taking a copy of the strongest weapon for himself, which is going to be, if you're playing a dedicated forge deck, is going to be at least 4/4 worth of stats, which bumps him up straight away to 8/8. Then he swings and he's at his 10. So I think Ornn is going to be the ally that strikes for 10 when and if he levels up. It's nothing crazy because he still gets vengeance, but at least now you have 2 copies of a piece of equipment you've forged throughout the game. And yeah, if you just stick this big piece of equipment onto the unit after Ornn has died, opponent is suddenly, I have to deal with this one as well now, and this one and this one. So Ornn as a tool to advance the Ornn game plan is decent enough to warrant a 5.
Okay. So I would preface this by saying we just rate this for competitive viability, not for the design. Competitive standpoint, I would say that garbage. Never see him here. Whatever he does is like way too slow. Like you literally have Kaiser, who's like 5 mana. I level
Win the
up for
game.
free and win the game on attack. You have decks dedicated to stop this attack from happening. Then you have Ornn, who's a 7 mana, I don't know, 6/6 or 7/7. Like attack, give me +1/+2/2. Like value later on. What I find the worst is this even a summon effect. You can't even field rush him out. Field rush him out, you don't even get a weapon. Equipment. Like no deck at all. I guess you can play like a slow Udyr, Ornn, Galio, Formidable, that type of deck. There he just
Yeah, like it's going to be big dumb Demacia, right?
yeah, but like just so slow, like even his level up, really level him up, and then like Nasus level you up. You have like a Nasus on board and level him up and strike for 10, then at least you get opponent doesn't damage you anymore. You can atrocity him and bring. So you just get like overwhelmed dude.
But a big overwhelmed dude.
Yeah, but like I don't see Ornn being like not can't feel the rush him out, you can't finish gameplay around him. Sorry. And this I like the design. Okay.
Yeah,
And
fair enough.
I think the forge card actually good that, but and so we have to see. Next card
Okay.
here.
Yeah. What do you want to pull up?
I think it's of the Hearthblood. Yeah, I gave the other cards a way higher rating with the forges.
Mhm.
So the 5 gift of the Hearthblood is 5 burst Threadbird. Your next is 4 and grant all allies equipped deck +1/+1. So basically 5/6 for 5 mana. Then you also get to draw one of them. You have the 7, 8. So we're kind of similar on this.
It's once again Mono Fiora support. All right, this
Yes.
draws you. You have 3 more Fioras in your deck suddenly. All right, and like that's it heals you, so it stops you from dying to aggro. Because like sometimes like Fiora is very good against Swarm, but like you can get ran over still. It heals you. It makes your Fiora have 3 HP, and it draws you a Fiora. I think that is a crazy card. Outside of Mono Fiora, I think it is still a crazy card. They just gave Freljord a 5 mana heal 4, and I hate it. I think this is good. I think this card alone just indicates that the meta is going to be a lot more late game And this is one of the cards and one of the reasons why I thought that Ornn would be a little bit more powerful would be that we're getting later into these games because like I really do think that a lot of the cards coming into the meta are going to slow it down. I don't think many things are speeding it up right now. So I think this card's crazy.
I also think this card is crazy, but it just does a lot of different things. Maybe just I wanted to record on you. The meta is going down. I don't see any card that's actively meta down. Like you still have to not die from Kaiser on turn 5. I don't see a card in his set.
At least you don't die to her on turn 8 with Void Abomination anymore. That's gonna take a whole
that's
more turn.
something. I see a lot of cards that like are slower, but maybe that's like. Ricky, what do you think about this card?
So when I saw Gift of Heartblood, I was like, wow, this is a really exciting card. But I was looking at the score, like, wow, what if I give this a 7 or an 8 and these guys give it a 3 and I have to defend this? I think it's a good card. I could be tempted to bump it up to 7 because, of course, it has a comparable-ish effect to something like Hearthguard, which also pumps your whole deck. But this also pumps your equipment. And then it draws one of the cards and heals your next 4. You don't get a body, sure, but like you can play it on turn 3, having already played like I don't know, Omen Hawk or something like that, and suddenly you're really getting going. Maybe you don't want to play it that early, but
I think you do.
Yeah, like as long as you're not going to get run over. Like I suppose if you're getting run over, you're not going to play it anyway because.
But it heals you to help
True.
you from stop getting run over.
I suppose it depends like what sort of getting run over. Like if they're sort of like doing something very slow on board that is slowly running you over, like something like playing a Veigar or whatever. You'd rather just be hitting units at them because that's how they're running you over by like not. But matchup dependent. It's a solid card. I like the card. It's cool design and more heals than Freyord is good. I like my Freyord games going to round 23. This helps.
Oh god.
You know what I hate about this card? It's a purple card and it's not bad.
Yeah, like there's a few of these have come out recently and it's a little bit like, there is a design philosophy. Purple's bad. We agreed on this one.
Losing it. Okay, biggest disappointment of the set for me, Bone Club.
Bone Club.
5 mana +4/+4 in value equipment. And this is a big disappointment to me because Forge as a mechanic, I think really needed a cheap weapon. Value like just play and then Forge up and like on even a 0 mana 0/1 like the Broken Club or something, and then Forge it up and make it. I would just have a 5 mana 4/4. So I gave it a 2.
Yeah, like
it's bad. I don't know. I didn't want to rate it too low, but it's pretty bad. It's like really, really bad. It's like really, 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 really bad. I don't know. It's bad.
Gave it +4/+4 because.
Yeah, exactly. I had to. A Jin main, by the way. Not really, but
it could have been
it's
perfect
bad.
if it's like a 4 mana.
If it was 4 meta, I think it'd be funnier.
Doesn't
But
even
it's
have
tough.
like
It's
four claws on it.
Yeah, it's
True.
everything's off. Like
unplayable.
If this was a 0 mana 0/0 equipment, I still think it'd be better than what it is currently.
Yeah,
it's
in Freljord,
Forge that.
yes.
Yeah, at least
Yeah,
yes.
all the Forge, like I guess they really wanted to push Forge into decks, guys, but
yeah,
that, like,
it's just not a good card. It's too expensive. And exactly as you said, Freyord needed a very early piece of equipment that can get going. This ain't it.
Yeah.
So the pre-made concept is Jax Ornn?
Yes.
That's really funny. That's really interesting.
I think it's just a big miss to not even include like one. Like just make this Freljord, for example. But
yeah.
I would love Freyordian Steel. Fantastic.
Yeah. It'd be too crazy, I think, though.
Okay, let's move on to the other guy. Demacian Steel will come later, but it's not like one specific. Favorite Artisan, Venom Summoned, 2 mana 1/4 in Freljord. Venom Summoned, create a Time and Dedication in hand. And Time and Dedication is 1 mana focus, focus and ally. Forge and ally. It's 1 mana focus. Again, Forge, you can either give 1 Gaia +1/+1. Equipment. Give it a 4, Tricky, an 8.
I don't know. Don't talk to me. Yeah, I don't know. It's a 2 mana 1/4. and I think I saw 4 health, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of HP. And I think with the weapons that are in the game, I think that having a very good equipment target is going to be really cool in Freljord. Yeah, I mean, Suter is cool. I mean,
Vanguard
it
Lookout.
is it's a card. Yeah, it's Vanguard Lookout. You're right. Yeah. I mean, stop. It's so bad. Why am I? I don't know why I gave. I saw 4 health, and I was like, that's a lot of HP. I think that's about it.
I think
It
it's
has
like
text at
the
least, and I think you could forge itself. You
3
can
mana
just play the
2/5.
time and dedication on itself. I'm just saying.
But a 3
So
mana 2/5. That would be so-
yeah, so actually, the interesting thing about this card, actually, when it was revealed in the video, I think it actually had a different name. It went by Wizened something.
Mm,
I noticed this in one of the React
I
videos
want
to
to
it, but
pull this down.
I'm not sure what that was. But anyway, um, I gave this a 3. Maybe I could be tempted to bump up to 4 because it is something that it is like designed to hold a weapon for a while so that you can forge it. I think that's what they're going for with this, but it's just missing the 1 cost weapon. Because if
Yeah.
you had Favored Artisan, then you played a weapon on it, now you have let's say, if you play Demacian Steel, you have a 2/5 for 3 mana, sure, but that is a large enough body to hold this weapon while you forge it as your
Hmm.
rest of your curve develops, and then eventually you pass that on to a good unit.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you can't do that because you don't have the 1 cost weapon, and I don't want to take points away from Favored Artisan because you don't have a 1 cost weapon, but like, who else am I gonna take it off? So yeah, not
Right.
a great card.
I don't. This 8 is really bad. I don't even want it to be above a 5 at this point, but I want to leave it.
I think the
Oh.
1/4 is a really big bait for like Magic players, even the developers. They get lookout. And like when people saw Soothsayer, they were like, "Oh my god, this is so broken against aggro." And just like block 2 once and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But like I was just last time the other guy in the chat said, "I got he drew 2 Soothsayers versus aggro. He's literally a dead card." It was just kind of true.
Yeah,
He just stairs and got run over.
Hmm.
Not a good stat line. Can't even kill a 2/3.
4 health on your champions, fantastic. 4 health on anything else, yeah, kind of relevant. Anyway,
Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah, that card. Next card,
I'm very
Adept
wrong about it.
Weaponsmith. Adept Weaponsmith.
good card.
Yeah.
Best card in the whole set. 3 mana, 3/3. Play Forge and Ally. Like fine space. If this would come with a playable champion, I would have given
Yeah. But you gave it an 8.
yes because not on failure deck and
Mm-hmm.
not well.
Yeah.
That is fine.
So this is designed to be played onto Jax, right?
Woo!
Yes.
That is the intended pairing of this. You play Jax,
Wow.
you play Weaponsmith. Now you have a 1/1 quick attack Life of Acacia.
Wow.
Trouble is, and the reason I gave it a 6 is because if it's coming down just on 3, it's a 3/3/3 that grants 1/1 to something else, and that's fine. That's nice, but it needs a piece of equipment early to shine, and maybe you're not forced to play it on 3, but you'd like to. And I'm missing that 1 mana piece of equipment that can get going early.
Yeah. Maybe we are Freljord Demacia then. But that seems really terrible. Just to get the 1 mana equipment.
Yeah,
But like my point on this guy is it's like a 3 mana 4/4 baseline, and it's better
Mhm.
than that because you can buff up a random unit. Again, you can like randomly decide to play Norra Full Set or something, buff up your Norra. And
Mhm.
typical case would just be like you put this in Udir Galio deck and just play Broadwing, and then you have fun with this. And the upside
Oh, gross.
over Duo Prodigy, like other card you would consider, is that Duo Prodigy is just a 3/2. Really, really bad if you like, put on no unit on another unit. If you now have no unit on board,
at least this is useful. Yeah,
the 3/3 it still blocks your release. It comes out and it has this random upside of permanent plus 1. I think this
Yeah.
is
I think it's solid.
okay. Hearthblood Mender. 5 mana, 5/5, play Fortune Ally, and heal access. Don't think this is an effect. Or Tricky gave it a 4. I agree. Big you 7 and 7.
I just hate Nexus healing, I think. I think that's what it is. I really think that I see Nexus healing and I say, broken card, get it out of my game. But I don't know. It's fine. It's a fine. It's okay. Maybe it's not as. I don't know why I'm like highly rating these cards, but like I just think that like these. I really want to believe that these Freljord cards are going to help that region a lot, and if the region is able to get the amount of help that it needs, like this is a reputation card, right? And that's sick. Okay, but that's in a it's in a different region. It's in a different region, and this card is strictly better than that card. Really?
Yeah, like how does it better? Like
Because
think
it
I think
forges.
it's strictly better. It is, I feel, because it's
It
6/6
forges.
stats with the same effect. Whereas there's Celicorn is a 5/6 with stats.
like sometimes you don't have a unit on turn.
Oh,
Happens.
like you're having a pretty bad day if you don't have your unit on board, right?
Yeah.
Happens.
In your deck that's designed around having big units.
Yeah, this is a unit deck.
I don't know. Like
Um,
strictly better is a very harsh term. You can
Yeah,
say better,
okay, it's hard
but
to say strictly better because region differences exist, but in terms of cost per stats, it is better.
you
I
can
think
argue
Forge is
about
good.
that. But
It's fine. It's not a 7. I'll give you guys that. It's like maybe at the highest a 6 at the most. I don't. Yeah.
next, Weaponsmith Apprentice. 1 mana, 1/1. The first time you
Why
dip
am
an
I?
ally, watch it.
I don't know what's wrong with me today with these.
So I don't really know how this works. If it's like the first time each round.
It is
but I
the
think it's
very first and the only one, and the effect goes after it's used. Yeah.
there's only one.
So when you
it's
play,
like,
when you play a
Oh,
card
this.
after this, it is now a vanilla 1/1.
Yo, it's sick though, right? You play this card, and you play Jax, and then you play the 3/3, and then Jax is massive.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, you do that. At the end of that 3 turns, at least you still have a good solid 3/3 for 3. This is a
Ha!
1/1 for 1 left over, and that's just
Blocker.
upsetting. Like
It's a spider.
this could be a 1/2. Weaponsmith Apprentice could easily be a 1/2, and it would not break anything.
I think it should be a 2/1. Second block rear guard.
oh, that's broke.
Tech W.
So you have the curve Weaponsmith Apprentice and checks. I curve Omen Hawk for my checks on top of the deck.
Oh, drawing card.
no, it's
Just
not.
draw your card.
But of course, actually, I suppose yeah, the Omen Hawk will buff twice, but giving the stats to a weapon is better than giving it to a unit. So there is that
Yes.
to consider.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as giving 1/1 to another unit because that's what you're gonna do. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't think the
Mhm.
weapon decks will be that aggressive. That you have to see.
I mean, it's a chump blocker. That's what I kind of look at it as.
But it's like you can't jump block on turn 1 because you need to stay around for your turn
That's
2
true,
delay.
huh? It has this. It's so it's so fragile.
Okay, next card. I really like this one because Watch Chef's artwork.
Yeah.
Hobbit Cook, 4 mana, 2/2 Weapon Master, so you can play it in checks. Master and Freljord. When I'm summoned, I improvise and card is actually. What it does
Yeah, it's pretty
basically
good.
get a weapon, and then 5/3. Yeah. Give it a 6, 5.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to give it a 6 as well because having seen some of the early access content, it's hard to realize that this 4/2/2
Oof.
actually becomes quite a bit larger until you see it appearing on the board as a 4, 5/4 can't block. And it's like, oh, that's actually quite big.
Do you want this to be a 6?
A 6/5.
I would like this to be a 6, please, Wick, if you wouldn't mind.
And
You
then I
got
would
it.
like to go to a 7.
I think the card is solid.
Perhaps.
I think it's going to be definitely one of the cards that enables these improvise and weaponsmith these weapon decks to be very scary. I think it comes down at a very pivotal moment. Freljord doesn't have good 4-drops. This is going to be a good 4-drop, so I think that's cool.
You mean Bull Look isn't a good 4-drop?
No.
Next guy, Wrought
Uh.
Colossus. Uh, okay, 8 mana, Freljord. And it's purple. Stable. Let's
Yep.
So, overwhelm, the first time I'm equipped, create a copy of me in hand, granted the that's 8/8, 8 mana. Guess you can play it in frontal decks or something funny like that, but Formator's Call. It's an 8/8, have to more value onto it. Some slow.
It's so bad.
No, you're actually you're allowed to have an 8/8, overwhelm that puts slow value in hand if its name is Captain Farron. Apart from
Yes.
that,
Captain Farron, my favorite value unit. Played it in
yeah,
my World decks.
for sure. Especially the original farm, which just replace your entire hand with Decimate.
And you're
Like, hey,
trolling.
I have no game plan anymore. This is it. Wrought Colossus is an awful card. It's not even purple. It's an embarrassment to being purple.
It's a funny meme card, but it
Yeah.
Once Forge next. And I base my rating solely on
Heck W. Wait, where is this card? Ornn. Where is it? So I'm trying to find it.
put a name on it that I can number.
There it is.
Once Forge, a 3 mana landmark. When I'm summoned or round start, create a fleeting time and dedication in hand. And I guess you have to pay.
Yeah.
But like,
But at least you get on summon as well, which is nice.
so when I find on Twitter really quickly, or somebody say this card can actually be good. What's card? What? But in Twitter says it's pretty good.
Heck W, bro.
I gave it a 6.
Okay, that's solid reasoning. I can get behind that.
Ricky, anything you want?
So yeah, I thought about this one a lot actually because I think if Forge as a weapon and a weapon-based archetype is going to be anyway good, this card is sitting right at the center. This is a solid card. I saw someone compare it to Monastery of Harana. It's like
What?
yeah. So as a 3 mana mark that gives you a token every turn. I was like,
What a
well, you're a
bad
missed mark.
comparison.
And someone said, well, would you play this if it gave you gems every turn? Like, well, it's not gems. It's a grant 1/1. Like, this card is so
Yeah.
good. If you find any decent piece of equipment, you forge. Like, it's part of the Ornn game plan. This is how you forge a weapon that would make
Yeah.
Ornn a formidable threat when he comes down. Is Ornn going to be that good? Yeah. But if he is going to be good, this card is nuts. This is holding the entire weapon-based archetype together.
Okay.
It is a fantastic card for the archetype. If we're talking about the archetype, it's an 11. If we're talking about competitive viability, it's an 8.
I gave
Okay.
behind that 8 if competitive viability. If anything makes the viable.
Hmm.
Okay,
Okay.
and then the most exciting card from Ornn from personally, Bellow's Breath, 5 mana slow, forge an ally, 1 to all, then do it again. Avalanche, but
Yeah. I think it's solid.
I gave it an
You
8.
gave it an 8.
5 wicked. Then I think you literally play
Mhm.
this over Avalanche and some wild costing. You can play it in Scargrounds, for example, Sparkling Iced Tea.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was going to make a joke saying I've had too much iced tea in my diet, and
Yeah.
I immediately thought of Scargrounds and wrote it off because I play Noxus decks that don't care about your Scargrounds. If you're damaged, you're dead. But yeah, this is like outside of Scargrounds, this is actually a pretty good pseudo replacement for Avalanche.
Mm-hmm.
And,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this card will see a lot of play. Fundamentally, I really do.
But like, there's a lot of synergy. For example, like you can play Powder Kegs with 4 damage.
Oh goodness.
See, if you're playing Powder Cake, you're probably playing this in a Plunder type of deck, and it doesn't hit face. So
Yeah, but still,
then
like,
again, it does help you hit face because there's nothing in the way anymore.
this is
Right.
7 mana Ruination. Play the burst speed. Powder Keg and energy.
Would that
It
work?
only does 3.
Would that deal 3? Because it would do the effect, stop, blow a keg, then it would do it again.
Huh. I think
I don't. Order of.
Fuck that.
I guess we could test it with that, huh?
That's what Megademon was designed like with the previous iteration of Ziggs to work with a pump. So I guess.
But like the powder
Hmm.
keg only works for the first.
Hmm.
Okay.
Maybe it doesn't work
Well
that
then.
way.
You want me
Yeah.
to put it down to a 7?
Yeah. Also, maybe put it down to a 6. I thought it would break spaceship.
Oh.
So it could be Wealthy Elders and Owlcats.
But
Okay.
it would be immune. It'd be immune to the entire effect.
It's still a D's card.
Okay, on overall.
Oh, Conansson, what did you want to give it?
Oh, I didn't give it a rating. I give it a.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
like
that gives a nice solid 5 average.
Yep.
I think it's
Yeah,
like a.
Means I was right and I win. Cool.
I think just Ornn is too weak, but the other cards kind of.
That's a
one
good
Ornn.
summation of it, yeah.
Yeah. It's fine.
Okay. Variety day.
Okay, yes. New
yeah.
cards from today.
No, not all of them. In one more. To find these
Okay.
like each one of them more exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so Quietus.
Quietus. Want to hear you. Yes.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Whoa.
Huh.
I was looking like I was so eager to get through Ornn because I wanted Quietus.
Oh
This card
goodness.
Well, I'm an hour earlier than you guys, so.
1 mana slow, kill a unit with 2 or less power, or destroy units. Shadow Eyes. Mention we don't rate these cards based on theoretically from contrologists. I think you don't. I think you never.
Burblefish, no.
Okay. If it's a Malefic, it's good. I want to put it into. I gave it a 3. And Vicky gave it a 9.
Whoa.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll start off. Remember Sentry Flock? Now you can do it for 1 less mana. I think Quietus is very good because it is a really, really cheap piece of removal. Now, you're often going to have to 2 for 1, but historically, decks that have had to 2 for 1 for like really good removal have been pretty okay. Like I think something like as Caton, which of course let's say builds up to eventually going for a 0 for 1 essentially because it does play your Tri-Beam, it kills the unit and gets a big payoff then, which is fine. But yeah, I think it's a really versatile way of dealing with a big threat, and it's just a really solid way of dealing with small threats as well. Like 1 mana kill something quite good.
Like an Elise.
Yeah, like okay, at least that's just a solid trade, right? But like,
Oh.
That's pretty good. But like, there's so many other champs that just get destroyed by this, and it's
Like a Heimerdinger.
a Heimerdinger, a what's the word I'm looking for? Angry small guy that makes darkness.
Viger.
Thank you.
Viger.
Yes,
Yeah.
Vagar.
So,
Not gonna be forgiven for getting
Oh,
that
okay,
name,
not
but
Tito. Who cares? Yeah, Viger, yeah.
like there are good hits here without having to invest anything else extra, and there are
Mhm.
fantastic hits if you're willing to invest pretty much anything at all.
Yeah. I think the fact that it's a 1 mana kill spell, I think that is very powerful. We haven't really seen anything that can cleanly take care of the smaller engines, especially the ones that have a lot more HP. Like this kills Azir. And
Yes,
that's I
because
think is
yes,
crazy.
killing a 1/5 is hard to do. Often it's not worth trying to kill a zero. You just wait for Aurelia to come down and try to kill her instead.
And like obviously there's a lot of counterplay. You could just Shapestone to save the unit that's being targeted, but
It's 1 for 1. Literally 1
yeah,
mana for 1
I
mana.
I
1
think
card for
it's
1 card. That's
solid.
cool.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Quietus will be. I think it's gonna be played in every single Shadow Isles Freljord control deck as at least a 2 of.
2 of. I think it's a nice 2 of. 3 of is it can be a bit clunky because you have to find ways of using it onto a variety of units, but as a 2 of, it's great. Convince us why it's not a 9. I suppose is the next question.
Like you said, like the 20 cards it works on are still half of the decks. That like if you kill a contrologist with this, you just
Why would you kill a Contrologist with
because
this?
you have no other targets, like against timelines, for example. What do you
Yeah,
target?
if it's stuck in your hand and you might as well use it anyway, killing Colleges is still like
No, it
pretty
says
fine.
go -1 on this. Because you point a value unit and get a card back. That's so garbage. Like I don't see like yes, you can sometimes high roll even if you like 2-for-1 yourself to maybe kill a unit, Sentry Flock you can't interact with it. Sentry Flock you can not unstun your unit. With Icefeld Archer you can just like, I don't know, play a catch.
I mean, clearly you haven't been playing much Mikhail's Blessing decks, but anyway,
Guys, please.
is
Yeah.
the removes negative keywords.
Okay, this guy.
Meme card entirely, but anyway,
Bad card.
I think in decks where you're not going to get much value out of Quietus, you just don't play it. You keep like there's certain cards you put in your decks because they're quite just generally decent. I mean, let's say you go into a best of 3 format, which isn't
Yes.
quite the competitive we considered, but I saw an awful lot of what's the word? The Passage Unearned in my seasonal run.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a card that we could deem competitive at all, but in that environment, which is a competitive environment, kind of cracked.
Yeah. Tech cards.
Yes,
Exactly. It's solid in that. I think ladder isn't the only sort. No, I'm probably moving the goalposts on what we've considered thus far being competitive, but I think Quiet is good in those and on ladder as well.
I think it's just way too dead and way too easy. Like, just so free, so easy. Like if like one plays a 1 Contrologist and then you target this with a Vega and then you just have the Contrologist card be a set unit to 3, save your Vega and then you just roll a card to put in the deck. I don't think you can, as a Freljord Shadow Eyes control deck, afford to have such a narrow card in your deck because you need every piece of your deck to be very flexible.
Hear me out on this one. Formidable as an archetype is crying in a corner right now.
Middle is not an archetype.
Both.
Middle is not
The
Broadwing
Broadwing
is.
is crying.
But Broadwing is
Broadwing is pretty fun. Like hitting this with Broadwing is a win. Does it?
oh, like
Anyway.
if you play like who plays Broadwing? Kaiser and like Scouts. Like Scouts is so better than Scouts. Like the Broadwing to do on
You can kill a Valor.
Scouts doesn't play Valor. Like the other
Kaiser
decks play
does.
Shadestone.
Okay, guys, we're getting a bit too caught
All
up.
right, yeah, let's go.
Malefic
Malefic
Spear,
Spear.
yes. I think this was the most important card to talk about. Malefic Spear, let's go faster. All 7. 3 mana, plus 2/+1. I died this round, I cost less, Shadow Eyes. Yeah, but a 7, 6.
Yeah. Very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Or not very strong. Yeah, it's solid.
Solid. And it's like a Power of Champions.
Yeah.
Yeah, next card. Darkin Halberd.
Ooh.
Yes, nice. I think this one's way worse than the I just gave it 1 disc. It's a 1 mana purple equipment +2. And to play me, kill an ally, you may spend 10 mana to play me rush. You have to play to play
Has to be
Unit
10
mana.
unit mana, yeah.
I mean
You don't have to kill him. No.
Okay.
Just mana.
And Terror Rush is like a 10 mana, 10/10 fear stem. Each round, the first time I attack, fill your attackers with revived ephemeral copies of first followers. 10 mana,
Yeah.
10/10 attack win.
Pretty much, it's harrowing on a stick.
Yeah. But it takes your opponent's followers as well.
Yes.
I think why I gave this a 9, even though the both of you gave it a 6, was because when I think about equipment, and the fact that these cards can be played as either 1 mana or a 10 mana, they're going to be bouncing in your hand up and down, right? And you're going to constantly be able to have that unit option. Like you'll still be able to play this card up until turn 10, and then like eventually it'll come to your hand and you'll be like, okay, I'm just going to slam this down now. So I don't know. I feel like with all the Darkin cards, like they help you get to the point where you can play them as the Darkin. And I think that that's what makes them very powerful. Is just, I don't know, a 1 mana weapon is very cool, and like being able to kill something on command is also nice.
I think it's fine, but it's way more clunky than the other weapons. Sometimes you just don't realize it's already in with Nasus decks. You have activators to want to be activated, and it's kind of helps, but still you have to go -1 or something. Play this each time. And around, and you can't just like call it.
Yeah, I feel as I'm giving 5 points to this for the halberd itself, and a point then for Tarash at the end. Like you don't, it's going to be a rare game where you actually see Tarash, and
Yeah.
also an even rarer one where Tarash gets to swing. But the equipment itself is, it's decent. It's the downside of it isn't a real downside because the deck is going to be played in. Are more than happy to see that, but it could be a bit awkward. Sometimes we talked earlier there about having an appropriate number of activators, and sometimes it can get clunky.
Okay, Keeper of the Box is next. 2/2 Shadow Isles Cultist, so you can play the
Oops.
Kane. And
Oh my god, I'm sorry. My bad. Spoilers.
What spoilers?
Stop.
Spoilers!
Oh no.
Give it a 3.
Okay.
Keeper of the
Keeper of the
Box.
box.
Artisan. Once you've equipped and added this game, grant me lifesteal. Yeah, cool. Index. Gave it a 6. 9.
Mhm.
I think it's good because played in Kane, very annoying
Mhm.
unit. Like, some decks just can't reblock it well. For me, provide decks and lifesteal. I just hate more annoying unit.
Yeah, I mean, I think I very much look at a 2-mana lifesteal unit in the Kane archetype where, you just want to slam down your cultist and they get your Kane and you want to just survive up until that point. I think this is also just a very good Shadow Isles fearsome card. I think having the ability to have 2 keywords is going to be really strong on this card. And it's 2-mana 2/2, which I think is just a decent, stat line. But Tricky, you do not like this card.
Oh, I missed the archetype or subtype of it. I did not catch that it was
Oh,
Eclectic Cultist. So I saw
okay.
2/2 fearsome that was not going to fit anywhere at all. Now, of course, with the fact that it's cultist, it fits your Kane curve because obviously once you played 3 cultists in a game, you get to draw Kane. That makes a
Yes.
big difference. And this is like the 2-drop almost to draw Kane. So I'd be happy to bump this up to a 5 because apart from that, like it's a 2/2 fearsome. Like
Mhm.
that's fine. And it'll eventually get lifesteal, which is fine, but like best case scenario it heals 2, really.
Mhm.
Like because by the time you equip something, it's probably the auto equip of Kane. Something's gonna be able to block that at that stage. So yeah, not excited about it. It's a fine card. It does what it's meant to do. But I'm not going to the deck builder saying, "Oh, I can't wait to put in Keeper of the Box now," because that's gonna make much of a difference. It's just
Mhm.
all right.
Hear me out. Keeper of the Box. Then you play a Caustic Cask. Then you play Darkin Halberd on Keeper of the Box, killing the Caustic Cask. Then hit your opponent for 4, dealing 5 damage, and heal back 1 damage you had Caustic Cask. 4/4. Talk about high rolls, please.
Yes.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, let's put Caustic Casts into our decks. Let's both promise now to do that at
No.
seasonals, and I'll catch you
Yeah.
then.
Okay.
You
Deal.
can just play Pesky, right?
Yes, Pesky Spectre is
Pesky
like
Spectre.
Spectre's actually even better then. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a high roll. It's a very high roll curve, but it's funny.
fun.
I think that equipping Keep of the Box is very powerful, and since that will proc him,
Okay.
I think he's a very good target.
Demacian Steel, Equipment, Demacia +1/+1. I gave it a
Wow.
7, Vic gave it an 8. 1. Maybe I speak side. Battlefield Prowess, but without downsides. Battlefield Prowess is a card I've had put in deck before, especially for champion. Had like but the worst card is I have to kill your opponent once in general, you just dead. Don't lose a stat, you can put +1/+1 in over and over again. It's a fatal trigger. 1. Important card. I gave it a 1.
Yeah. So I gave it a 1 because if you look really closely in the top right, you see that sort of like whitish symbol and how that's not a bluish symbol. That's an issue for the card. That's a big issue for this card.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the fact it's not Freyord is it's really bad for it. If this is a Freyord card, I'm right with you immediately. The trouble is, like, you kind of need to play this with Freyord to get any value out of it whatsoever because you have to forge it. and there's don't like unless you're playing it with in a very situational way with Jax, where you can access champion spell, forging isn't particularly easy.
Mhm.
When you mention it on fated units as well, if you're like it'll activate fate on the turns that goes onto the unit, sure, but like then you kind of don't want that unit to die. You kind of want to keep that unit up.
It's true.
You like it's a bad turn if that unit dies, and you're sure you got a 1 mana 1/1 fated trigger you can stick onto the next one, but like if your 5/6 dragon dies, you're like when the white flame dies, like you're a bit more preoccupied with how upset you are at losing one of those big units than you are, oh yes, I got this upside. So yeah, it's the wrong region. That's my summary of it.
I don't think it's the wrong region. I'm going to replace Inspiring Light with this cards.
Mm.
So good.
Interesting.
Like you just play Misfortune and you Spellman and your opponent is like getting excited now.
What do you cut?
Inspiring Light. Garbage. Played 2 Inspiring Light and season. Like you play.
Okay, I think there's a separate discussion we had there on the quality of Inspiring Light. I quite like it, but 1/1/1 passing initiative, I don't think it's good enough for scouts.
So good. Play Misfortune on 2 or 3, you have 2 mana up. Your opponent can't get excited because you might have sharp side, so you like pass back. And you play Demacian Steel onto it, and it's a 4/4, and that just comes back. Like, you should put in a RIWAN, block in the least, and then guy gives you the constant ways to use one spell. It's very mainly good, but
Yeah, I don't think it's an
I'll
8.
give it a spin in scouts.
so you keep your one.
Yeah, still keeping the 1.
I guess it
All
fits with like 1.
Exactly. It's exactly as good as exactly as good as it is.
Okay, so we have like some
Utter Devastation and the Jelani cards are remaining, I think.
Yeah. What do you
Okay.
guys want to give?
So
Yeah,
I have to
go ahead.
read it first. I'm not going to look at it. I guess it's already give it a 7. 11 mana, Shadow Isles. So kill all units except allied Darkin and allied equipment. That's like the Darkin pain. Pain is a
Cultist.
cultist. That says Darkin. They need a
No,
region.
but it's a cultist card.
Yeah, but we need a region that these cards say Darkin. So yeah, it's like nation, but us. Kind of situation.
Well, it's a
funny.
one-sided.
Which deck do you play where it's one side? I give it a 2.
I mean, the only deck you're ever considering putting this one is one that has, like, firstly, the Darkin in it, the Darkin that you can play in it, which really isn't that many, and equipped units, which are Kane. That's probably it. I was gonna give it a 3 because I don't know, maybe it's okay, but yeah, I would rather just play Runation because it's a lot cheaper, and
Nation already sucks.
Ooh, yeah.
I'll
Maybe
take
it's too niche. I think 7 is pretty high. I just thought that it was like a one-sided kill your opponent stuff because, like, I'm just assuming that you have a lot of equipped units, but maybe that's not
But it's 11 mana.
that.
Like, just
Yeah,
point.
it's so expensive. It's so
Four-
expensive.
4 mana, you get Sky's Ascent. I mean,
5. I'll drop it down to 5. This is a bad card.
And yeah, like if it said cultist unit, it would be with you. But like half of the cultist units are not Darkin.
well, if it's a cultist, I'm going all up to 5 for sure.
Yeah.
Darkin. So. Okay, next card.
Is it Zolani?
I don't know.
I suppose she has
sorry,
Tell me.
the
considered as
Darkin
part of-
Bloodletters.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, 1
Sorry,
mana. Plus 1/0 equipment. So far, so good. Mana equipment. Last breath. Wait, is this like on the equipment?
Mhm.
If the equipment dies, or if the
If the unit holding the equipment dies,
if
Yeah.
a bearer is not a Darkin thrall, summon a Darkin.
Scroll up.
yeah, it's a 1 mana
There it
3,
is.
1 mana 1/1 can't block. Yeah.
First time unequipped, grant me plus. Gives this to a guy, and then the guy dies, and then you roll. Then you can like put it on the guy again, and he turns into it.
Mhm.
And then you can also spend 6 mana, summon this 7/7 to play me, kill an ally. Last breath. Summarize, you put it on a guy, then you have to wait for the guy to die. Another guy can't block. Bigger, that's expensive. Like, definitely like
Overwhelm.
oh,
It's a bit cyclical, yeah.
I give it a 4.
4, okay.
Tricky.
I'm at 9.
Woo! Let's go.
And I'll clarify this. The reason I'm giving this 9 is because this is so good for Thresh Nasus, well, not Thresh Nasus, more so Kindred Nasus decks.
Hmm.
It is a 1 mana, sack a unit, create sack fodder, return to hand. Sack a unit, create sack fodder, return to hand. And sometimes you even have the opportunity to play Jelani, which kills another unit. Like, it's this triangle of incredible value for that one deck.
So much
I don't know
value.
where else this is being played, but I wish I could have had this card when I was playing Nasus Kindred a few days ago. I wish I had this because this is crazy.
Okay, maybe I get behind that. Maybe put it up. Get behind.
I don't know. I really like it. I think the amount of value that comes from this card is just super crazy.
It's so hard to get rid of as well because
It's impossible. Once you play it, like you get your Dark Enthralls, you get your Bloodletter, you buff your Dark Enthrall, you get your Bloodletter, you play your Zolani, you get your Bloodletter.
I'm sure they can't block, but like.
But you said it was bad, bro. You can't say that. You can't point at Quietus when you said it's a Dogwater card.
On the Celestial Impact. And
It's a 7 mana.
can point at
All right,
anything
all
I
right,
want.
let's-
I can point at you. Point back.
True. All right. Let's. Do you want to go move on? I think this is a funny card. I think it's a lot of value.
Interesting. It's very hard to
Shurima.
like read this on the fly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It requires a lot of thought. I wasn't sold on it immediately either, but I heard Baki talk about it, and I was like, "Yeah, guy makes sense."
Ah. Celestial
Hey,
Impact.
Kane. No, Kale. This is like
Yes.
Kale.
tough Kale. Like my playstyle. Sit around, do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And 7 mana slow, obliterate a unit or land. Really the.
Main deck comment. Yeah.
I think it's a.
Yeah. I'm somewhere between 6 and 7. I'm leaning more towards the side of 7.
Cost 7, so it was.
Yeah. Like in any deck that wanted to play Sunburst is now saying, the Toy Story meme. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Yeah.
That's literally it. They now pick up this one. It's 1 mana more expensive, but no last breath effects, no chance of bringing it back whatsoever. Doesn't care about the health of the unit. It's just you're gone. That's it.
Yeah. I think the card's
Frozen
gonna be
Landmarks.
sick.
That's nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's
Okay.
cool.
Cool card. Guy. Heavy metal. Mana.
Oof.
And slow. Destroy a unit. But can you target a unit that doesn't have a hit?
Yes.
Yes.
And you can just
Bilgewater.
steal 2 your unit anyway. Doesn't have.
They
Yes,
gave Bilgewater Mystic Shot.
It's a 7, I think.
It's a 7. Yeah, for me as well. It's slow Mystic Shot. That's good.
It's not Mystic
At
Shot.
so
minimum.
sick.
Can't hit access. Bilgewater.
Okay, but it's I don't know. It's so interesting.
But like, which Bilgewater deck does one?
Well, I mean, I think it gives, like the moment that we saw Tentacle Smash in Bilgewater, I think that is when we started seeing Bilgewater having the ability to deal with things on the back line. I think that heavy metal is just more interaction for Bilgewater, a region that doesn't really have that much interaction. It also combines with the powder kegs, that then it could just go, up to 3 or maybe 4 at the max. I think dealing 3 at slow speed, I think is very good, and I think that that's going to be frequent. It also, it does help with its equipment removal as well. So I think that this card is just going to be very solid in any sort of slower Bilgewater deck, like maybe something like I could see it in non-BTF. You know what I mean? It gives Bilgewater some way to interact with something like an Irelia, and that I think because of the opportunities that it opens up for the region, I think that's what makes it very powerful.
I don't see it's being put into a bit. Maybe they're really
Okay.
weird slow. It's a good card. Like,
I think it's just a solid card. It's a nice card to have. It also shares a art style with Coup de Grace, that an unplayable card. Pretty good in past champions, I guess, but which I just kind of like. It's kind of
Uh,
quirky.
w- I
It is,
don't even remember that card.
yeah, concentric circles, someone getting hit in the head. What more do you want? Um, I'm not excited about the card. Like I'm not going to be again in deck builder
Yeah.
saying, oh yeah, this is a great card to have. But it's like, huh, I'm on 36 out of 40 cards.
Mhm.
Removal is okay. Go.
thinking that this is so bad with all of the value. Half of the decks in season.
Mhm.
Do
Yeah.
do-
It's not a 10. It's
how
not
do
a
you
10.
see it?
I think that's it.
Yeah,
I
that's it.
think so. Yeah,
Nice.
Nice.
it's a lot of cards.
Yes, it
Always a lot
was.
of cards. You have to remember, Tricky, once we did this like all at once. Well, sitting
It
here
was
like 5
terrible.
hours.
That sounds exhausting.
It
But yeah,
was.
glad to have you here and talk for like half hours. Really interesting discussions. Like a lot of these cards are very great design and really
I agree. It's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be a
think
really interesting expansion. Oh, go ahead.
they've really knocked the ball out of the park here in terms of like just an exciting expansion. I'm looking at this expansion like I don't fear anything. I don't fear anything yet. Maybe it's a bit naive, but I'm excited to try all the different varieties of what can be done. Like any deck builder out there should feel excited at what's available in the next few weeks.
seems very fair. Like I'm just afraid that none of the cards you play because Kaiser will. Looking forward to like flashing you Artisan Steel.
Of course, yeah. Good luck. When's Evolve going to 7? Like we doing that soon?
What?
I'd love that. The Evolve mechanic as a whole moving to 7 keywords. Boom.
Oh. Yeah.
Like 6
That'd be
plus in
nice.
equipment.
Cool. Go make them play something else.
Yeah.
I liked when they had to play the lurker. Anyway.
Make them play Solani. Kaiser so you can Isaac.
Exactly.
Anyways, yeah,
Okay.
it was great to have you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Perfect.
But
Thanks so
do you
much
have
for
any
having me,
last
guys. It's been a
words?
pleasure.
Oh.
And I will
Mhm.
see you on ladder.
Yes.